Fancy lad.
Fancy lad.
Fancy
Podcast Fancy lad.
Fancy
Podcast. Gonna talk to my friends. Gonna share a
Fancy
thought.
lad.
Gonna have a laugh. That's what I
Fancy
thought.
lad.
Fancy lad.
Fancy
Fancy
lad.
podcast. Fancy lad. Fancy lad
Fancy lad.
podcast. Yeah.
And we are back. Oh, my goodness. Yes, we are back. God, the words just slip out of my mouth and through the microphone. The words slither from my mouth like baby snakes from a mama's snake's tummy in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom. That's what I was thinking.
Temple of Doom.
I was thinking my words are kind of like that scene
Mm-hmm.
where you cut open the big snake and all
Yep.
the baby snakes slither out, and
Uh-huh.
and the audience is the people eating the snakes, you see.
You sweaty and deranged fans out there, you're the snake eaters.
You're the snake eaters, okay?
Metal Gear Solid, Yellow Exit John Tweak.
Yellow Exit John Tweak. And Yellow Exit
Zachary Jumper. I was going to say that too because I knew Zach's probably over there.
Oh, my God.
I love Metal Gear 2.
He's probably shitting his brains out right now that we mentioned his name on the podcast.
Well, honestly, I was thinking he's probably shitting his brains out unrelated just because I feel like that's something Zach likes to do when he's, just chilling, just shit his brains out. And then he heard that.
Well, the weird thing about shitting your brains out is that, like, when you think about it, it's like you're taking shit.
Right.
Okay. What part of your brain is, like, the furthest away from your asshole?
The brain part.
The brain part.
Yeah, the brain part of your brain.
So it's like there has to be something really, really,
Really wrong. I mean,
Really?
how does it even get from your skull?
That's what I'm
through
saying.
Because, I mean, your skull is wider than your neck.
Yeah. First of all, was it pass through the throat?
Does
Are
it
you
turn-
passing your brain through your throat to shit your brains
I think
out?
it would have to turn inside out, and everything is like and like it goes down your throat, and your throat starts turning inside out. Everything would have to be turned out inside out. So it's like a full body pink sock at that point.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons where the
Full body pink sock.
the gas turns everybody inside out.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I'm thinking of a different one.
Which one were you thinking
Oh, this is from Simpsons After Dark.
of? Oh, yeah. That infamous Simpsons After Dark series.
It's like Treehouse of Horrors, except adults only.
I was never old enough to watch that.
You never will be either.
Yeah.
Every year you age, they raise the restriction age
Damn
by
it.
1.
Damn it.
I know. It's like that damn carnival ride that would keep track of my height and just keep moving that ticker up another inch. No, you must be this tall now. You must be this tall now.
That sounds like somebody had a personal vendetta against you.
Yeah, I think it was.
And
It was this guy. He ran the carnival in Wakefield. His name was Peter.
Peter.
Yeah, he was a real fucking dick.
I've never met somebody with that name that I've liked.
Yeah. Do you remember Peter from when we were skating that carnival in Fisk?
I do remember that.
That
now.
was a beautiful situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we ever mentioned that on the podcast.
Do you want to tell the tale? You want to paint a scene real quick?
I mean, we're at a carnival that's not yet open.
Mhm.
They're setting it up. They
Yep.
have their big, what do they call it? Their super fun time slide.
Yep.
The big like triple or quadruple decker slide.
Super
that
happy
you go
fun
down.
slide. Yeah.
Yeah, super happy fun slide. You ride down your potato sack. And Fisk's going up there. He's going to do classic Fisk dropping. And, head carnival, I guess, maintenance and operations crew, guys setting it up. Came over, very tough guy right off the bat. Or tough guy attitude.
As he should be.
Right.
TGA.
Yeah, as he should. I mean, I can't have any blame for him having TGA.
Yep.
Little TBA? Little too much TGA.
Yeah.
TBA. But telling us we can't do this, we gotta leave.
Let alone TBH.
TBH. He's kicking us out. He's being mean about it a little bit. You know? He's not just like, hey guys, come on. Don't do that here. He's just like, no. And this guy's younger than us too. So it's weird when like someone that seems like a child man starts trying to yell at us, You don't want to get scolded by someone younger than you.
No, certainly not.
But then he starts trying to get down on us for having beers. It's like, oh, you can't have those. It's like, this is, because it's technically school property because it was in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, it's like, you can't have those on you. And right as he's yelling at us about beer, that other carny comes out of nowhere and hands him a fucking suitcase of Bud Light and says, oh, hey, Peter, here's your beer. Literally says, hey, Peter, here's your beer.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, did we have a grand old laugh at Peter's
my
expense in his face.
Did
Trying
you-
to get him to laugh with us.
Did
It was
you
like,
did you lay into him though? I forget.
oh, we didn't lay into him. We were laughing at him, and I kept trying to get him to admit that it was funny. I kept being like, you got to admit that's pretty funny that you were trying to yell at us about beer, and
you're drinking fucking
and you're
Bud
drinking
Light
Bud Light. Yeah, and
like a goddamn idiot.
and he wouldn't admit that it was funny.
Yeah.
He wouldn't admit it. He wouldn't turn the other cheek.
No, he's loyal to his brand,
Mm-hmm. The douche brand.
Oh, I mean, it's the king of beers.
It's Bud Light.
But light.
It's the king of beers, just with less calories.
Exactly.
Yeah, he has a good point.
Yeah. We'll never forget Peter.
Ah, man. Yeah, clearly. But anyways, so we are back on the Fancy Lad podcast.
Yeah, and that's just one of those many, stories that you get only when you're out there and skating, just in the wild, just off the cuff. You never know what's going to happen.
You don't. And people don't know that you're a celebrity when you show up.
No.
People don't know that you've
No,
earned
no.
respect.
No.
Especially their respect, Peter.
Right. Fucking Peter, dude.
God damn it. Honestly reminds me of another Peter, but I don't want to get into that.
Yeah, seriously. We'll go on for days.
We don't have time. We don't have time, honestly.
We don't have time because, quite frankly, you know what I do have time for is.
Oh, shit.
Oh yeah.
What was that?
Oh, I just cracked into a fresh Clown Shoes brand beer right here.
Oh, my goodness. What flavor?
This is a fucking. Oh my god. This is a Galactica.
Damn. Well, it sounds good. Let's see what it really sounds like, though.
Oh, God, that's good.
Oh, nice and carbonated.
Oh,
Just like I like.
I feel like they're extra carbonated tonight, and I can tell you that because
Oh my god, I could hear that crack and the fizzle.
cracking into one right now as well. And this is your classic rainbows are real. Oh my god, it's very carbonated tonight.
Oh my god, dude.
I'm gonna be up burping and burping
And shitting.
and shitting, unrelated to the extra carbonated Clown Cheese brand beer.
Yeah.
But the burps, very much related. Actually, the shits, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. You know what's great about Clown Shoes brand beer, actually, that we should talk about real quick on the podcast?
No, what?
Is that they are going to release the collab can with Fancy Lad that, yeah, we're both featured on.
Wait, what?
And there's going to be a beer party release event late May, possibly early June.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but
Uh-huh.
it's going to be an event.
Oh my god.
It's going to be a happening.
An actual event, launch party of Clown Shoes and Fancy Lad brand beer collab.
Yeah.
It's probably a better way of saying that. See, I'm not very eloquent with my words, you know. I wish we knew someone like that, but it doesn't matter.
I know. But you know what the best part about the event is?
Mhm.
It's going to be local.
Oh, I love local things. I love things local, specifically local to us.
Yeah.
And I'm talking Boston, baby.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Beantown.
It's going to be right in the heart of Beantown, right there at the Harpoon Brewery.
Oh, that is the heart of Beantown.
Yeah. Needless to say, it's going to be a celebration of not only skateboarding, but the city that we love so much.
God, is it Boston?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston,
That's right.
Massachusetts. That's right.
Mhm.
And, man, it's great having all these guests from Hollywood.
Oh my
and,
god.
all over the world, really.
Yeah.
But, I'm saying enough of that. We need to start thinking locally to act globally.
Locally grown.
So what I'm thinking is, why don't we bring it back to our roots, just kind of try to learn a little bit more about the history of the great city that we live in, which is Boston, Massachusetts.
So you're thinking maybe we should go on one of those like Freedom Trail walks with Ben Franklin hosting it or something?
Yeah, is he still around?
Oh, yeah, he's still around.
I mean, we could take a duck tour.
Oh.
We could go to Cheers.
Well, you know what? Why don't we do all those things and then maybe find a guest?
Yeah, that sounds good. I've been trying to get you to take a photo of me next to Fraser Crane at Cheers. So,
yeah, and I've been trying to get you to tell Norm that I want to take him out.
Take him out
for dinner. Just for a nice one-on-one conversation.
All right, I can tell him right now. I got his number.
Oh, you want to call him up right now?
Yeah, let's just call him.
All right, call him up.
All right.
Hello?
Oh my God! Hey, is this Norm from Cheers?
Hey, Bigzo, how's it going, bud?
Oh my God, Norm! It's
Yeah.
been so long.
Mhm.
How have you been?
Not good.
Not good. What? Why?
Man, they closed down the bar.
They closed down Cheers?
Yeah, they opened it up again. It's it's more of like a Dick's Last Resort type place.
Oh my God, Norm! What are you gonna do? That was your watering hole.
Yeah, I just bought a 24-pack of hams. $9.99.
$9.99. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the Blanchard's in Allston, and you say your name's Norm, they cut off $2.
Well,
Gary's Liquors, VFW Parkway. Yeah, you're gonna be paying them like $12.99 if you're Norm.
right. I mean, I get that. You get your beer fix, but what
Yeah, they call
about
it the Norm discount.
Yeah, but what about the camaraderie? What about, you got Ted Danson, you got Fraser Crane, you got that other guy that you're friends with.
Monty?
Yeah, Monty.
Oh, I don't think he was never on the show. That's just my buddy from home.
No, the mailman.
Oh, Cliff.
Yeah, you got Cliff.
Yeah, Cliff.
Come on, what are you going to do without Cliff?
Well, I mean, I certainly won't be getting any mail.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Tom wanted me to ask you something.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either. I know it was something.
Whoa, Tom. We still got fucking Norm on the phone.
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Oh, shit. Okay.
We have multiple inputs. We can have more than 3 people on.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Tom says hi.
Okay, bye.
Wow.
He
That's
didn't even say hi back. It was like he intentionally didn't say hi back. That was fucked up.
I know, but that was amazing having Norm on the podcast.
Dude, I mean, I would have preferred the other Norm, honestly. Not
Yeah.
to be rude,
Yeah,
but, you take what you can get.
you're right. Well, nevertheless, why don't we take a quick break and do those things, and hopefully, we'll find a guest.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
From Clown Shoes Beer is Bubble Farm IPA. The Intergalactic League of Farmers waits for no man, even with a crop as delicate as bubbles. Elegant crops, of course, and no matter the trouble in harvesting them, it's always worthwhile to see those beauties shine. Light in color with a touch of haze, this American IPA maintains an approachable medium body without sacrificing any of the full aroma and flavor of copious dry hopping additions of Simcoe, Azacca, and Idaho 7 hops. You can really taste those delicious Idaho 7 hops. For information on where to buy Clown Shoes Beer or to enlist in the Intergalactic League of Farmers, visit www.clownshoesbeer.com.
Yeah.
And we are back.
Oh, we are back, and that was a good break.
God, Tom, I can honestly say it was just one of those breaks you dream about.
Oh, man. And again, I have been dreaming almost exclusively about breaks, but I don't want to get into that. Because
Almost exclusively.
I mean,
I like to hear these other things.
I mean, we can't get into that right now.
Yeah, we'll save it for the Break Dreaming podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also the other things I've been dreaming about podcast,
Right.
Which is a spin-off of the Break Dream Cup. It's all part of the Fancy Lab podcast.
Naturally.
Multiverse.
Yeah. But let's introduce our very special guest.
Mhm.
Boston native, I'm assuming.
Masshole for sure.
Would you like to do the honors, Tom?
Well, okay, yeah, I never get to do
That's
this.
true.
I never get to this. So I will introduce the guest, Geoffrey Kula.
Howdy, folks.
How's it going?
It's good. Thanks for having me.
And do you prefer Jeffrey or Jeff?
pretty much only my mom and my aunt call me Geoffrey, which usually means something bad is about to happen.
So we'll save that in case you do something naughty.
Or Geoff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, dude, I already have a story. So, there's a photographer from Maryland whose name is Jeff Graham, and it's also spelled with a G. Mm-hmm. And I was in Maryland, and we've never met, but I know how to pronounce my own name. And so I was in Maryland shooting with this skateboarder who will remain unnamed. And he's like, oh, blah, 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 something. And he called me Geoff. And I'm like, yeah, it's funny. People think that, but the name's actually pronounced Jeff. And he goes, oh, yeah, Geoff Graham tells me that all the time, too.
Nice.
It's like, I wonder why he says that.
I wonder if he was self-aware or if he was really just that dumb. I don't know. Could have been just a comic genius,
I was going to say, he could be like one of those poke the bear with the stick kind of people.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But hey, thanks for being on the podcast. Boston photography legend.
I think you're being too kind, but thank you.
And drinking.
Well, that's what Canton told us.
And you're drinking out of a Sam Adams glass. So I'm assuming, are you still in Boston?
Oh yeah, I live in the South End. And by the way, this glass has a story.
Let's hear it.
Everything has a story, man.
There was some. I don't even remember what it was. There might have been an orchard screening or something. But there was, for some reason, a bunch of us, and by us, I mean people like Dougie Death and Jamal and people that just sort of don't normally hang out from the skate scene, because Dougie and Jamal aren't really, Dougie's in a death metal band and Jamal's not into that as far as I know, whatever. Yeah. So we're all at this premiere or something, and it happened to be a Game On, if you remember that, which I think is maybe still called Game On, near Fenway Park. And I'm there with Charlie and Mike and his wife were there, and we're all carousing, and there's a good photo of it somewhere. I'll have to try to dig that one up. And I was doing my fair share of drinking, which, that'll happen. And this glass was a full beer. And I was like, oh, we were getting kicked out or we were leaving. I can't remember which. Take your choice. And I was like, ooh, but I have to leave with this full glass of beer, which is always a trick when you're at a bar, because they don't normally like that. So I had a trench coat on because I'd come from work, and as you could probably tell, I look normal now. So I wear normal people clothes, and or non-skater clothes, I guess I should say that. And I was like, oh, Beth, come here. And I was like, oh, I just want to make sure you're okay. And of course, under my arm that was around Beth was the full glass of beer. So I walk outside and I'm like, oh, thanks. And she's like, what? And I'm like, just drinking my beer outside. Ooh, there's a postscript to that story. So the parking garage we were in, which I think was in the building the AMC theater is in, the one in Fenway 15 or whatever it's called.
Yep. The one with the blick right there.
So somewhere in that immediate vicinity is where whoever drove us had parked. And as we were walking down to the car, and I'd never thought about this before, but I guess for parking garages, in case there's a car fire, you need a human being size fire extinguisher, because those fires are going to get out of control really quickly. So, I have genius evil idea and by the way, the thing's on a dolly. So what could be better, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a grenade pin and you pull it and the dolly's there, and I'm running around the parking lot spraying the 6-foot tall fire extinguisher, just being a moron. And
for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And sure enough, security comes, but the whole place is just a cloud of dust. And so Charlie, Mike, and Beth were already in their car. So literally in a movie, I'm walking beside the car as security is walking past the car, and just opened the car, jumped in, and got away. It was awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Was that you were just hanging out, just going to see a movie with
No, this was after we had left that one orchard screening party or whatever was that's skate gathering that happened at Game On.
Right.
Which again isn't a place normally I'd see a bunch of skaters at.
Yeah. Well, we live right down the street from the Sam Adams Brewery here in JP.
Oh man. So so we can segue right to that. I got to tell you, I had been to your version of Burnside.
Yeah. The
DIY park. Oh yeah. And I was literally like, what? Did you guys make this impossible to skate on purpose? I was seriously there was two. Now, by the way, I'm not good, which is why I became a photographer, and that we can get into that. But, I was just like, holy crap, this stuff it's like you took the worst things about skating in New England and built them in a park.
Yeah. We
Like
loved
there
it.
was
So
like,
you liked it?
it was awesome. The thing I skated was that uphill, it was like an uphill bar sort of thing, steel ledge.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah, the
up
up
ledge,
ledge
yeah.
thingy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that
that
thing's
park
fun.
had a lot of character,
And a lot of broken glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that wasn't us. That was just some
true.
hooligans.
It's true.
I'm sure. I thought that was part of like the moat to get to the next obstacle.
No, that's what all the empty cans were.
I mean, if we could just have had them rebuild that park, we would have been happy.
Or if they could have just lifted everything and refinished the surface and then dropped it back down.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been ideal.
Yeah. I have been to I was at the JP Park the second day it was open, before it got graffitied, which is a miracle anywhere.
Yeah.
Not that I have a problem with graffiti.
Not even a problem with bad graffiti? Because that's my qualm. It's
That's
like,
tough. But then you're
graffiti
asking
is
the question,
permanent.
But
So,
what is
then
art?
what is bad was good, the barrier between, low and high art. I know, but I can tell you honestly, it's not very good.
What, the barrier between low and high art, or the graffiti over there?
The graffiti over there.
Oh, I've been there since it's been graffitied. It's
Yeah.
not going to win any awards.
Yeah.
The St. Mountains is a great place to be by.
Yeah. How'd you like the new park though? And it's okay if you liked it.
I missed it's all transition, so it's good. It's just so funny because the Hyde Park is amazing, but to get there in any way, shape, or form takes an hour, which is insane considering I live in the city and I could get to Worcester in an hour.
Right.
Not that I know what there is to skate in Worcester, nor would I do that. But I'm just saying, like, it's crazy that there's this nirvana that's just impossible to get to.
Yeah, well, they used to have the Warside DIY, which was pretty cool.
Where's that?
It was in Worcester, but they tore it down.
I never saw
And
that.
of course, they got those classic Gallant spots, like the 2 up, 2 down. I think that's the best spot in Worcester. The hard flip Manny.
I've seen footage of that. Yeah.
So you did like the park?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's that nice little pocket to get some speed.
Mm-hmm.
It's the coping's good. People are always going to complain, but I thought it was nice.
You're damn right we're going to complain about it.
Damn right.
You're going to say there are enough
Every
windmill
episode.
things and
It's like when they.
There's no sprungs.
It's like in
I
New
was going to
York.
say there's no bouncy castle part.
Yeah. But it's like in New York where they tore down the fat kid spot to build that park there. It's just like, couldn't you have just built it somewhere else?
Well, in New York City, come on, really? They're
I guess they're running out of room.
Right?
They're running out of room real quick. Yeah, it's true.
I mean, I even liked the Hyde Park original. I thought the bowl was really good. I mean, clearly I like what's there now better because there's just more stuff.
Right.
But I was just happy there was something to skate that wasn't the godforsaken park they built in East Boston. Did you guys the prefab disaster? Did you guys ever see that?
Yeah, the one that was there before the one that they just built, one that PJ had footage at. That was right next to the Big 3. Or are you talking about the new one?
No, I'm talking about the old one. It was literally like pavement that it was asphalt out of a parking lot that you guys would love, and just these terrible concrete precast. We'll put this quarter pipe block here, and
I remember it. Yeah.
Classic. Massachusetts prefab park.
Yeah,
right. Which we heard rumors was designed by Frank Harada, but we'll never know.
I've never heard that.
No, Canton said that he just got a bad rap from it.
Yeah, he. Oh, did Canton debunk that?
Yeah, he debunked it. He said, "Nah, they just threw his name they just threw him under the bus." So it was, at one point in time, he looked at a set of plans and was like, "This looks okay."
No, but I remember the one that had pyramids that were way too steep. That one pyramid that's at a lot of those other prefab parks.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous. But anyway,
just real quickly, did you guys ever skate Maximus?
No, I never got a chance to. Yeah, it was before my time.
Skate the Seawall?
But I did get to skate the Sea Bowl once, and actually I was going to skate the volcanoes.
They were gone.
And I know I was going to go skate them, and I broke my board. And the next time I took a trip into Boston when I was a kid, they were torn down.
Yeah,
I just missed it.
Where are you guys from?
Tom's from north of Boston. I'm from Metro West, right by the Foxborough Stadium. I'm from a town called Norfolk.
Yeah, sure.
I'm from Wakefield.
Oh, yeah, I grew up in Groton, so,
Groton.
Dirt road. No, it's totally different now, but.
So you grew up in Groton.
I did. First skateboard I got was a 70s banana board. Rode it in my garage when my parents weren't home because their cars would be in the garage.
What year was it?
Oh, God. Late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just trying to put a mental time frame.
Sweeping out the garage because, those boards, you'd hit anything, a piece of dust, and you'd go flying,
Right.
So
even before the big fish boards, yeah. What was the first video you bought out of curiosity?
God, I can't even remember. It was either Propaganda Ban This or Bones Brigade Video Show, probably. I mean, it had to have been a Paul video.
Yeah, it had to be a Pal video.
But I can't.
Those are good videos, though.
I mean, it's funny when the Past Participle on Instagram.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, so this guy is local. He used to work at the Beacon Hill Skate Shop. And so you might want to connect with him at some point. So he runs this Instagram feed. It's called the Past Participle, and it's all about skate photos of non-sponsored kids from the 80s. And it's just amazing to see a lineup of 20 kids, and they all have Powell boards. It might be hard for you guys to understand that, oh my God, I almost just said back in the day, even though it is. There were literally 10 companies.
Yeah,
right.
A few brands.
And now there's 10,000.
Yeah. No,
it's just crazy.
I mean, it felt like there wasn't a lot of companies when I started, which I started skating in 1995.
You were right at the tail end. I mean, the sine wave of skateboarding being popular or cool, I think you just missed the early 90s, which, small pants, big wheels.
Right.
Remember that.
We love that era because, that's some of the most creative skating where there's certain tricks that were done during that era that I haven't seen since, just because they got so technical.
Yeah.
So that people always hate on that era, but I actually love it. The old New Deal videos, even Lick from H Street, and just anyone during that era. Obviously, the Plan B videos.
Say it again.
Obviously, the Plan B videos.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's the fashion. You think that's what gives it a bad rep?
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
And those wheels were just.
I know. But hey, Matt Tomasello rides on
little
size
shitballs.
40 wheels now. He loves them. That must be the secret to having that much control that people refuse to do because it looks so stupid. So
it's a good theory.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good theory.
So when did you start? What made you want to start shooting the photos? You said you weren't good enough to be a pro skater. Classic tale. Is it that?
I mean, I don't even believe I would ever have been good enough. Although I have a funny story about being in Prague, but that's another story. I don't think I ever would have been good enough to be sponsored. But on a Powell tour, I almost entered a pro contest, which would have been ridiculous. But anyway, just as a kid, so we're going back to days of rotary phones. I had a paper route and bought my first camera with paper route money. Loved looking at skate photos and just never really thought it would be a thing I would do. But just when I realized in college that this was a thing you could do, I was like, fuck, man, I'm going to do this,
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, I mean, I started college, I was a math physics double major because math is easy and physics is interesting, but I don't know anyone. I mean, I didn't know any journalists either, which is what I graduated the degree in, but you just do things you're good at, and I don't know what a mathematician does, although it's funny because now I know a bunch and they all work in hedge funds, but
Yeah.
Clearly, I chose the right career path.
Right. Are you still in the journalist field?
I mean, technically no, but I would say that if you're aware of, most websites or companies are now hiring former journalists to create their content because content marketing is a thing. So, and I focus on digital marketing is what I'm doing now. So I run websites for companies and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, me and Tom here, we're actually consider ourselves the #1 skateboard journalists of this era.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just trying to figure out what my next step is after, you know.
You guys might have some competition. There's my only intern, Dave Mount. I'm going to shout out to him. His Instagram handle is Cool Summer. He just and he's from Massachusetts. He just published his first zine. It's called Dream. Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting to get my hands on a copy of that. And there's a fellow, Dom Westbury in Chicago, and he produced a zine last summer. It's called Inner Fulfillment Periodical. So I'm really excited that people are going back to print, because to me, that was such a, traumatic might sound dramatic, but it's just, man, just looking at something on a screen. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember like having photos on my wall when I was a kid. And like,
oh my God, tell me about it. I had a wall for each one of my favorite skaters.
Who were they?
Luckily, I only had like 4. Yeah, exactly. Well, 5 if you count the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. So who were they?
You definitely had a Muska wall.
Gotta have a Muska wall.
You gotta have a Muska wall.
I can see that.
I think I probably, I know I had Penny up there.
I can see that.
I don't know if I had a Rowley wall. I might have.
You mean Geoff Rowley?
Geoff Rowley.
Yeah,
that's
you're
right.
buddy.
And honestly, I think Jamie Thomas as well, because the first video I got was Welcome to Hell. So I was just like, you're a little kid, you see a video, guy's last part, probably Jamie Thomas. I'm going to say Mark Johnson, because Mark Johnson was kind of like my first favorite skater because of his style. And it was just because of his clips in 911 Emergencies, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. It's funny though, because that group, like I can definitely see Jamie, Chad, and Tom sort of fitting in one group. And then you throw Mark Johnson there, and he's not like the big rail guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Jeff Rowley to an extent too,
Yeah.
But like Tom and Chad were like, they were like 2 peas in a pod,
Yeah.
And just this Tom Penny watching him skate is
the best.
It's like watching butter melt or something. It's
it's amazing. Yeah.
It's just like he's half asleep doing a frontside flip over something I couldn't even think of walking down.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. Just the naturalness of his style. And also, I think the same thing about Brent Ashley, but he didn't come along till much later. Yeah, we're talking 96 was when I was posting these 96 and on when I was, posting these photos.
Yep.
But you'd have to ask my mom. She probably knows better than me. My memory's probably a little foggy.
Your room is still set up exactly as you left it. Is that it? Yeah.
No. I remember. I would definitely say Muska was a big one though. After Fulfill the Dream came out, when Muska Mania was going on, I took the Muska pill. I was like, wow, this guy's the best. Best.
Good style, charismatic guy.
Yeah.
Good tricks.
I still love what he's doing. I love his Instagram. I love that he's farming now. I can't get enough of it. I don't know what it is.
Dude, do you think he's going to open a beet farm?
Like,
call it Muska Beets?
That's actually a really good idea. And I think that we should reach out to him about that.
And this is probably also something we should delete from the podcast so none of our fans steal it.
Yeah, exactly.
They're always stealing our ideas.
But, I'm amazed that, like a character like Muska or all these pros that had so much charisma, like even like Mike V. Actually, I don't know. Is Mike V a millionaire? Well, anyway, that Rob Dyrdek is one of the most wealthy skaters. I'm just surprised that Dyrdek was the one who made it happen. I didn't even think he was on the radar as being like one of the top pros.
So I had I don't know. So I'm just going to say I don't know anything about anyone's net worth. Okay, I'm going to start with that. But I do remember when the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, there was an AM on Zero, and we were just talking, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Tony Hawk's going to have me in a game." And he's like, "Yeah, that's when I decided instead of renting my 2-bedroom house in whatever the beach community he was living in, he's like, that's when I decided to buy it. Just for being a character in a video game." And I don't know how do you price that out, but Tony's going to take care of everyone, obviously. And I think that's what's cool about skateboarding,
Yeah.
Well, I just looked up Rob Dyrdek's net worth, and it's estimated at $100 million.
Based on what, though?
CelebrityNetWorth.com. Well, probably
based off because he has like a bunch of shows on MTV or something.
He's got a bunch of businesses, and he had contracts for MTV for millions of dollars because ridiculousness. I don't know how he did it, but he had them play it 60% of the time for the channel.
That's insane.
That is insane.
My parents like ridiculousness. They're like, you know this guy? You know Rob Dyrdek? I'm like, yeah, I know him. We're good friends.
I think there's this amazing...
I'm just saying should have been Muska. That's what I was saying. That's my point. That's what I was getting at.
So honestly, I think at the time, I think Chad was in LA and he was DJing and he was kind of like being a socialite, if that's...
Dating Paris Hilton, yeah.
That's exactly, yeah. I mean, he had other priorities, But I will say about this whole ridiculous thing, and I always think about this, because I remember when I lived in Allston, I remember coming back from tour, and it was the day the issue of Rolling Stone with the Jackass guys was on the cover, and everyone at the party was like, "Oh my God, these people are crazy!" And I'm like, "They're just acting like stupid skaters act." Like we've all been there and done that. But like, if you're not part of that community, you don't know it. But even though there's tons of like 411 videos where people touring in Europe and getting crazy, and Bam and other folks as well. But it was just so weird to see that sort of cultural phenomenon. And the only thing I'll say to that is I'm surprised that I think there were these 2 snowboarding videos. They might have been called Whiskey. So someone fact check that. It might have been Whiskey 1 and Whiskey 2. And there were these 2 Canadian snowboarders. They're driving a motorcycle in a supermarket, and one of the guys is dressed up as a clown and he backflips off a movie marquee and shatters both of his ankles. Like, they were the jackasses before there was Jackass, but I guess it's all like timing,
Yeah, right.
Also, they're Canadian, so no one in the U.S. is going to give them coverage.
Right. That's normal. That's normal Canadian behavior.
Yeah. And also with all this, practice for journalism that me and Tom are doing with this podcast, we're trying to bring back the printed magazine because, there's been something lacking since Big Brother's been gone. There's no alternative media, really. I mean, there's only Thrasher.
But
they have a monopoly over the entire thing, over the entire industry.
Right.
Well, but do you? So here's an interesting question. And by the way, happy birthday to Mike Burnett. It's his birthday today, and I know.
Oh my God! Happy birthday, Mike Burnett! I gotta text him. He's a Pisces.
I don't know what that means. I'm sure. But do you think that Thrasher is not doing an adequate job covering skateboarding?
I don't think smaller brands have enough money to get enough coverage in their magazine. I think that.
Let me just interrupt you and ask you something. So the last issue I saw, I'm not even exaggerating, it was like 200 pages worth of photos and maybe 20 ads. So, like back in the day, it was like 50-50. Like,
right.
You have
TransWorld.
pages. Right.
TransWorld was like 70-30, 70% ads. Yeah.
Right. So when you say that you don't think these companies have enough money, well, like I don't understand what you mean. I'm just asking,
Well, I mean, the editorials that they're going to do in the magazines are of companies that paid for sponsored ads. And whether the ad's in the magazine or not, it's going to be whether they pay for web space for that ad or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So if I don't think that if I reached out and said, hey, can you do an article? I mean, who's gonna fund it? First of all, a company has to fund it or something. They have to put the entire thing together hire a photographer, go on tour, have something to have an article about. And then also probably, they're gonna ask if you're running ads for the issue that the article would be in. And I don't know if I mean, I'm sure if you're homies with them, they're gonna run the ad, they're gonna run the article. But it's, I mean, if you're just a brand that's trying to like break into the industry, it's, well, now we have, the internet. You don't need to have that. Obviously everyone has their own brand and they have all their followers. But that's what I've noticed that from, running a brand that I didn't realize before the fact.
What part didn't you notice?
I didn't know that, that you kind of had to be in this sort of, it's kind of like one hand washing the other scenario.
Yeah, it's kind of like a payola situation, It's not, you kind of assumed like, oh, they just are showing us cool stuff that's happening. Not necessarily they're showing us cool stuff that's happening that these people are paying for them to show us.
Right.
So I will agree that when my naive self moved to California, I learned the same lesson. Like I just thought, oh, you're TransWorld, you're going to print the best skateboarding no matter who's doing it. But it's really, it does come down to the fact that, Thrasher back in the day would cover everyone on the Think, like Fausto Vitello brand of companies. And then Rocco started Big Brother just so he could get his crews. Like it really way more than I ever would have thought. I thought it was a sort of a meritocracy where, quality rises to the top, but I'm not going to say it doesn't, but you're correct in your assessment that if you run ads, they will certainly cover your riders,
Yeah.
And that was just, again, my naivete. I was surprised when I went there and learned that, and no one says it directly.
No, no,
but it's 100% clear,
Yeah.
But the other tangential question I'll ask you, and I think about this a lot, I think about actually the internet and cell phones, because everyone's got a camera and a video camera, which might be more important, has really done a lot to democratize skateboarding. Like think of all the guys in Brazil. So just going on what you're saying, you would have to fly to America to get noticed by an editor of a magazine.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really healthy for skateboarding. Thoughts, comments, like especially as we're talking about magazines and sort of how they're run and the politics behind it.
No, absolutely. Because obviously you want this way you can see, what's going on everywhere else, like pretty much instantly. But also it gives chances for people that wouldn't get that kind of coverage or people that you wouldn't necessarily.
Yeah, so to that point, I just want to jump in for a second. I'm not defending Mike, but I think Thrasher has done a very good job, including people in the non-cisgender community and talking about like sort of raising awareness that skateboarding is for everyone, which I think this might've been before, I don't want to say you were born, but skateboarding wasn't always like that. And there are examples, and I'm not going to name people, but you can look at board graphics and there are documented instances of violence against homosexuals in the skateboarding community. And I think it's good that we've come as far as we have as a community to help foster this other. Skateboarding always should be about accepting people, right? Because we were different to begin with, and we were bullied for that. So why wouldn't you take someone who's being bullied for another reason but loves the same thing you do? No,
I do think that it's a lot different now. I think that if anything, what I'm like even referring to is kind of what I have in my memory too of almost like when I was kind of starting the company, which was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
And Thrasher, they've always even showed us support by, putting our videos on their, YouTube and their website. Which, when it first happened was, a dream come true. Still is,
Yeah, every time it's an honor.
I'm just saying it's tough to be a small guy as a cog in the wheel. It like really is. It's like tough to like actually try to like get in there and make a dent.
But I think what you have going for you now, right? And I was just speculating, right? There's such a need for content because there are so many channels. And what I'm going to say, I mean, holy shit, man. Honestly, some of the stuff you got, like when Rom told me about your, what I refer to as the Switchblade skateboard, I was like, that can't be what he's completely describing, even though he described it perfectly. I was just like, what? Like, it just didn't process. And then the way your guys skate, and I'm not a blanket statement, but like there's an element to creativity that skateboarding needs, right? It can't be all, I mean, dude, I remember I was in Europe one year and I was on a tour. I won't say with who, not that it matters, but this guy comes up to me. We're probably in France or something. He's like, oh, I want to like shoot photos for TransWorld, but we don't have picnic benches to skate here. And I was like, holy crap, man, this is the worst thing I ever could have heard. Like you're in Paris and there's all this amazing stuff to skate. But if you look at all the magazines, at the time it was pros skating picnic benches, and I'm not talking about like Day One Song creating some Jenga masterpiece. I'm saying like someone just blunt sliding a bench at a school courtyard or whatever. Yeah. And to think that someone wouldn't take advantage of that because of what they saw in the magazines really depressed me. But then I think about what you guys are doing, and I think like it's so healthy to have that sort of, I mean, don't take this the wrong way, I will say it's sort of a spark of zaniness. Like I just can't even imagine how you think of this stuff because it's just, my brain doesn't work that way, but it's fascinating to see and it's fun to watch. And there needs to be some of that in skating,
Yeah.
Like it can't all be Olympics.
Right. I know. Well, back to the whole, I mean, comparison to art, and the art debate, imagine if there was only one type of art, one genre in each, in all of music, there was only one genre, it would just be,
there's only one song.
Yeah. Right. So, and yeah, the internet's a great equalizer, and I think it just showcases some of these, like, it's more of, I guess, sort of punk mentality that, you don't need to be the best to actually be able to do it, and just do it different than anybody else has done it. And there's part of it that it has to be zany because it has to, I don't know, you have to be like open to, you're kind of vulnerable trying to step out of the box that everyone's thinking about of skateboarding. So you kind of have to be have a sort of be immune, sort of be able to be immune to criticism almost, because that like people are gonna, like, even if they don't say it, that people are gonna scoff at it. I mean, I know that people all, like, we were probably like hated in Boston, especially when we started, because everyone's skating ledges and stuff like that before like we were more established. And even, I mean, think about it in terms of when I was like growing up, when we were in high school, if we were to see something like that, I remember getting like laughed at the windowsill ledges because I did a Casper flip because it was a circus trick, So it's just like but I thought that was the coolest thing to see a trick that you hadn't seen before.
Oh yeah.
But that's not how everyone views it,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I mean, you take a risk when you're trying to do something different, right?
Exactly. Did you? And also, I don't know, it seemed like there was a lot more, I don't know, I remember just feeling like there was this, like, I don't know if you got this sense, but it was almost like kind of almost like it was more like thrashing, around Boston. It was like rivalry with the crews. Now everyone gets along. Now I feel like it's different.
What year was this?
Probably like 2000, around then.
Yeah, I mean, that was right about when I was getting out of it, but so I didn't really see that. I mean, can you explain rivalry, like real rivalry, or?
I mean, I don't know. I heard. I don't even know what's true, but I heard that the like the Boston Coliseum shut down because they had like a brick thrown through its window, and it was like, I don't know. I guess assumed or allegedly like another Boston crew that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard that, but I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
it was nothing. I mean, I've been a part of a lot of stupidity, and that's nothing like I would get involved in. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, just think about it like this. Think about it like this. It's like when I was growing up, like for no reason whatsoever, that guy Lurker Lou was like, and he said it to my friend who's there. I must have just said like one word, like a little kid, and like just like trying to like talk like to like the crew of skaters, and he was like, "Yo, check your boy Cletus," because I had broken teeth and I had my front tooth missing.
I think I know who you're talking about. I would just politely say I think he's an outlier in the community.
Yeah.
Who's I think now lives in LA if I remember correctly. But I mean the rival there. I remember going to Philly back when, like, before Love Park was like the thing it is now. I don't want to say a thing, but I mean, you'd have people like they'd jack you for your board. Like if you weren't in with the right people, like that sort of stuff would happen. But I don't think the Boston skate scene is big enough for that. But I know exactly who you're talking about, and that behavior wouldn't surprise me. And it's unfortunate that you experienced that, but I think
I must have got the wrong impression, honestly.
No, not from what you were just telling, not from that person, right? I completely know who you're referring to. But I think that it's just unfortunate you are in a situation where you are younger and impressionable and you encountered a bad actor. You know what I'm saying? Because I think skateboarding in Boston, like, I think back to the Maximus days and, like, again, I suck at skateboarding. I'm the first person to admit it, right? Everyone's trying to, like, I don't want to say cheer you on, but everyone's supportive and positive and like, yeah, you can do it. And, like, it sucks that you encountered someone who is trying to make you feel shitty for wanting to skateboard,
Right. Yeah. And then actually, but the person I was skating with, I think had some snarky remarks to Pete Gardini, and I actually really liked what he said to him. And he was like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "Listen," he's like, "I guarantee you're probably not even gonna be skating when you're my age," and it's true. The kid didn't end up really skating that long.
I mean, I don't understand that. Pete is one of the nicest guys. Like, I
don't
know.
No. I actually really no. This kid was giving him shit.
Oh, not your friend, someone else.
I mean, he was my friend, but he was giving him shit, and he that's what was his reply, and I actually really liked that reply, and it ended up being true. I don't know. I just remember that as like. I thought that was like, I was like,
put him in his place.
That guy actually seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny. There are a couple like old dude skater crews and whatever where people spend a lot of time debating on whether or not like you're still a skateboarder. And I think personally, like, I mean, I went out recently, meaning like there's snow on the ground, so not that recently. I'm not super hardcore. But like, I'll be the person to decide whether or not I'm a skateboarder, right? Like, even though there'll be months or whatever until the next time I go skate, but no one can tell me whether or not I'm a skateboarder,
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's, I mean, we just don't need this, right? It's not healthy for the sport. It's not healthy for the community. It doesn't serve anyone.
I know. And also I'm talking about, this is 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. So, and let me tell you, just to be transparent, like I was a different person 20 years ago and I would have responded differently 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm like? I wouldn't be this level-headed.
Yeah. Are you at all still entwined with the skate community besides the fact that, I mean, obviously, you seem like you talk to a lot of still legends around Boston. You mentioned Rom, Dougie Death.
Yeah, I mean, they're people who I consider my friends, like, but I'm not, I mean, when was the last time I shot a skate photo? Can't even tell you, like, it's just, I have a job that takes up a lot of my time. It's funny, we earlier were talking about skateboard is evolving, right? We were talking about Muska and whatnot. I did find that, like, riding a motorcycle, which I've seen a lot of skateboarders have progressed to, it's like a bigger, faster toy. You have to pay attention, you're going to die. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that's like the headspace. People talk about the runner's high and stuff. I'm not doing that, like, but for me to be skateboarding, to get to that point where I have to be focused, like, it's not going to be at the JP Park. Yeah. No offense, right? It's like 3-4 feet deep. I mean, not going to get that hurt. Famous last words.
Well, I was going to say, our buddy snapped his arm in half, but yeah.
I mean, I tore my Achilles pushing across flat. So that was years ago. But
how fast were you pushing?
Dude, like the Flash. Time was melting behind me.
You opened up the flashpoint.
I did. There you go. But I just, I just have other interests. I mean, it's not that skateboarding isn't important or part of my life. It's just no longer the most important part of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah, no. I mean, but I have friends who are, I mean, I met Mike Burnett probably looking at the year 20 some odd years ago. I mean, that's when I was involved in skateboarding on a daily basis, but I just don't have the bandwidth for that. Although that said, skateboarding has evolved and become, I'm going to say, more professional, right? Like, you see, dude, I don't see any video where there aren't like 10 people filming a trick. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. And there's people can earn a decent living, it seems, nowadays, as opposed to, skateboarding wasn't as popular when I was in it. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: when you were in it, and I was looking at your old photos, the one photo that, is, I guess you would say, you probably would agree, is probably your most famous photo, the doubles down the MIT handrail.
So it's funny because I would say that the stories behind this are just phenomenal from my point of view. I think it's the most underrated photo I've ever shot, is what I'm going to say. Right. First of all, because the photo that I sent you, which is the black and white photo, TransWorld didn't run. There's,
quick side note, where I saw that photo? Monsterskate.com.
That site still exists?
No. When I was growing up, that was where I first saw that photo.
Oh, okay. I remember
fact. That. Yeah.
Paul Zitzer pulled me in on that team. Steve Hawk, Tony's brother, was leading it. It was a lot of fun. Pete Thompson used to live in Boston, skate photographer from North Carolina originally. We all had a hand in it. So, wow. Yeah. Blast from the past there. Yeah. Blast from the past. So we went and shot that photo at least 3 times because it's winter in New England and we're trying to shoot a sequence and we're trying to get it on a color because we wanted to make it the best thing possible. And actually, I should back up to tell you the story of how that photo even came to be, which is funny because I think I was at ASR, which is a trade show in Long Beach, and was probably talking to Wig Warland, and a new issue of TransWorld had come out, and I hadn't seen it yet, which thank God for that. And Wig, who's a photographer from England, said, "Oh, have you seen the new cover of TransWorld? There's 2 guys on a handrail." Or he said something like, "There's 2 guys skating a handrail." And so in my mind, I thought, oh my God, there's 2 guys skating a handrail, but it was a split screen cover where there were 2 very tightly cropped vertical photos next to each other of 2 guys skating a handrail each, like different handrails, different places, whatever. So then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, I bet this is fucking possible. So I was in California and I called up Mike and Charlie because I was living with them at the time at 486 Mass Ave. And I was like, hey guys, just we're going to go skate the MIT rail when I get back. I go, I can't tell you what we're going to do, but like figure out tricks that you can do like pretty readily, like Smith grind 50-50, whatever. Like, and they were like, what's the story? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you, because I didn't want them to think about it and then convince themselves they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And Mike and Charlie will back the story up 100%, because it's just ridiculous. The way I think about photos is ridiculous or whatever. So I get back to Boston. We go out, we drive there. Once we get there, I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they're like, okay, let's try it. And so, you know, they got to figure out who's going to go first. And they're both like, Mike's regular and Charlie's goofy, or vice versa. I can't remember off the top of my head. But so they're approaching it from like, they're skating towards each other. And you just have to believe that the other guy is going to do his part when he is supposed to, and it's going to work out perfectly. So, and it was the MIT rail. So, you know, at the time, it was pretty common. You get kicked out pretty quickly. So we went there, and I think the first day we didn't do it. And they were like, yeah, they were psyched. They were like, yeah, this is totally doable. We're going to go back. So we went back a couple times, shot a bunch of black and white photos, shot a color sequence. And then when I was looking at the sequences, like, you know, back then the frames per second was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 frames per second. So you're talking about a trick that's going to happen in a second and a half. So you're going to get like maybe 7 or 8 frames out of it. And if you had a faster motor drive, which they didn't make at the time, you would be able to, there'd be a clearer frame in the color sequence where Charlie and Mike are on the rail. The sequence that TransWorld ran, it looks like Mike is just about to land on the rail and Charlie's at the end of the rail Smith grinding. Yeah. And so in the next frame, Charlie's coming off the rail and Mike's on it and whatever. So I went back and I was like, we have to go back and shoot an indisputable photo where they're both on the rail at the same time. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, as you saw from the other photos I sent you, from my point of view, the way to shoot it was that horizontal photo, because the vertical photos just looked like garbage, you know? Plus we went back, and on that day, I set up my video camera on a tripod and just had it running the whole time. So we got there, showed up, put the camera on, they warm up, we start shooting, and within 6 or 8 makes, we had the photo that I sent you. And so we sent that entire package of photos to TransWorld, thinking that they would run like either the color still that had them both on the rail, which was pulled from a bale, in addition to the color sequence, or the black and white image with the color sequence around it, right? Because I don't know, it seemed kind of like a big deal. No one had done it yet. And I've thought about this since, and I don't know, it's like, is vert doubles like a big deal? Like it was a big deal when it happened. And so I don't know. Right. Plus it took 14 years for someone else to do this.
Yeah.
Which kind of says something about something.
Who are the next 2 people to do it?
Oh, I've got it in my notes. It's Dave Baczynski and Manny Santiago. It's in their Salt and Pepper video.
Oh, nice.
So
some local Boston boys.
Yeah, some
Lowell buddies. Yeah.
So we sent the photos. First, we sent the photos to TransWorld, and I talked to Grant, and I was like, "Hey, are you going to run this?" Because I'm like, this seems like kind of a cool thing. Now, I've talked to Mike and Charlie about this since, and I wasn't like it's going to be a cover, but it seemed like it had the potential to be a cover.
Yeah.
Just
it's pretty groundbreaking,
but
for
like,
the time, yeah.
And 14 years later,
yeah,
right? I mean, no one had ever done this, which seems like that's got to be up there somewhere, right? I don't know, maybe. So, so then I mentioned to Grant that we had shot video of it, and we were going to send the video into 4-on-1 because we were like, this is absolutely going to be an opener, like dun 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 dun. You know, like
we know the song.
Yeah, so you can imagine
cue the drum roll. Yep.
So you can imagine the slow-mo, and it's going to look perfect and whatever. So Grant says, if you send the footage to 4-on-1, we're not going to run the photos. So I was like, okay, well, I need to talk to Charlie and Mike about this because it's not my singular decision to make. So we were all living together, and we sat around the breakfast, dining room table, whatever you want to call it, you know, where we ate in the kitchen. And we were like, what do we do? You know, like, because there was no way that 411 wouldn't run it as an opener. I mean, it just seems impossible to believe, but we hadn't sent them the footage, so we didn't have that for sure. But ultimately, we thought sending the photos to TransWorld was going to be the right thing. They would do us right by highlighting the photo and the video with some amount of respect, and hopefully everyone can see my air quotes, that we thought the photo merited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember, the video was used in a TransWorld video, and I can't remember which one. It was in a montage. It was run at full speed, and if you blinked, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
So we certainly felt robbed there. And then when they ran the sequence as a 2-page opening sightings spread, I believe, if I remember correctly, there was another sequence laying atop it at the top of the page, and then they didn't use the still where it was 100% clear that they were both on the handrail at the same time. So we felt like that was kind of unfortunate. And, you know, it's funny because everything, you know, hindsight is 20/20 vision. But, you know, like Charlie and Mike were like, yeah, we should have just sent the footage to 411, you know. I'm
for that sweet,
here.
sweet slow-mo, yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I'm speculating, but I think that if it had been, I mean, Mike Bell, I don't even know if he was riding for anyone at the time.
Yeah.
Like he might've been Flo and Etnies. He was sponsored as an AM for a while, whatever.
And Charlie Wilkins was on Maple?
Charlie was on Powell, I believe. He
Powell.
was at least AM for Powell at the time. And had other sponsors like Road for Etnies or Sheep or whatever iteration was around at the time. So it's not like he wasn't, you know, it's not like he wasn't unknown. But you take two guys from the East Coast that no one cares about, right? To your point about advertising dollars, zero. You know?
Yeah.
I honestly, and I've never talked to Grant or Dave or anyone about it, Dave Swift, wouldn't bring it up now. We're not actually on good terms. That's another story.
Love to hear it.
You know, it just seems odd. I will say that I posted that photo to Instagram, and through a confluence of events, Jeff Rowley did reach out to me, and he said, because I had heard a rumor that after I sent the photos to Grant, but without Ed Templeton or Jeff Rowley knowing, Grant had taken them to the UC, I think it's the Huntington Beach, that long square brown rail that everyone used to skate.
Oh yeah.
And they were skating, and they were like Jeff said, like, oh, it just came organically. Like Ed and I were skating the spot. Grant didn't suggest anything, and we tried to get on the handrail at the same time. I mean, I'm not going to not believe Jeff. Like, why would he lie to me? You know?
Yeah.
But I believe if Grant had got a photo of Jeff and Ed skating doubles on a handrail, that would have been a cover photo.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Ed skated for Toy Machine, Jeff skated for Flip, tons of sponsors, tons of money. And I'm not saying it's all motivated by money, but to the conversation we were having earlier, I find it hard to believe that didn't have something to do with it. But I have it's just me speculating. I have no proof.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It must have been even tough for you being just trying to make, I don't know if you're doing the photography for your living, but just even being on the East Coast must have just been such a huge hurdle.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And this is pre-even EST. I mean, what were the big, I mean, I guess the Dan Wolf videos were probably the most popular. Eastern Exposure was probably like the most popular East Coast videos. I mean, there wasn't a lot of media that was coming out of the East Coast at the time, probably. I'm guessing.
Well, no, you're right. But I think the other thing that's sort of, I don't want to say important to consider, but, you know, there was sort of like a gentleman's agreement to an extent that if I lived in Boston, I wasn't going to go to New York and try to shoot the New York skaters, or I wasn't going to go to Philly, because there were photographers in those towns that were also trying to scrape by a living shooting skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, I mean, I did go to Philly and I shot some photos of people there, you know, like whatever. but it wasn't like I was going to shoot a Bam or a Kerry or Ricky Oil, like, because Ryan G's down there, so it's like, it's just a common courtesy. Wasn't always a two-way street, but
Were you shooting Jamal and Jerry Fowler while they were on Toy Machine?
Yeah, I'd shoot stuff with them and Panama Dan. He was also skating for Toy Machine at one point. I think there were times where I felt my time wasn't being respected. Like, so if I say, hey, we're going to meet, and keep in mind, listening audience, this is in an era where there weren't cell phones. Yeah. So if we agree the day before that we're going to meet in Copley Square at 3:00 in the afternoon, and you don't show up by 6, you have wasted my time. And I'm going to give you like maybe 3 strikes and I'm done working with you. And I'm not saying that Jamal or Jerry did that, but I'm just saying, like, you work with people who, like, I mean, I'm literally trying to pay my rent and buy food, like, I can't have someone slack off and be like, oh, dude, I just couldn't make it, man. Blah, some dumb reason that doesn't make any sense, and I had that happen. I was like, that's cool. Like,
classic skaters, though.
I mean, it's funny. So maybe I'm a wrong fit for the organization. Like, I'm just too, like, I'm from New England, so I need to get shit done. I think that's hardwired into our DNA.
Yeah.
That
hard
was
workers.
It was a very difficult, like, culturally, it wasn't a good fit when I moved out to California, because it's always sunny and in the 70s and no one's in a hurry to get anything done.
Yeah.
There's another great story about, shooting and trying to make a living as a photographer and a skate photographer in England or in Boston. I remember I shot an ad for someone, and the guy that owns, this is years ago, so the companies were very small back then. And the guy's like, hey, we love the ad. We're going to run it in like all the mags and whatever. And he's like, we got your invoice. He's like, why don't I just send you some shoes instead? And I was like, hey, man, that'd be great. It'd be awesome if you sent me some shoes, but I have to pay my landlord rent, and he doesn't take shoes for rent.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can send me all the shoes you want, but I also need you to pay me my invoice.
I mean,
and guess how many pairs of shoes I got?
How many?
I'm going to guess 0.
Good guess. Good guess.
I was going to say, you could have asked for like 20 pairs of shoes and tried to sell all of them. That's the classic skater move.
It is, but I don't have time for that shit. Like, I'm not going to be out on the street trying to hustle sneakers. That's not my job. I want nothing to do with it,
Right. I mean,
like,
it's tough. It's tough when it's, everything's kind of a spit in a handshake too,
Dude, there was I remember I was on tour, and I was like, man, it's so hard to make ends meet. And I tallied up all the money people owed me, like all the unpaid invoices. And, it was like $3 or $5 grand. Which even today I would say, man, if you were like, oh, here's $3 or $5 grand, I'd be like, sweet,
Yeah.
Back 20 years ago, $3 or $5 grand was like a year's worth of rent on the high end, and it would be weird. Like, people would always, not everyone, and I'm again not going to name names, but like companies would be like, oh, we saw these photos and we really want to use them. And then you send them to them, and this is before digital files. So you're sending them the only version of that. Like, this is the original slide. Like, and once I send it to you, how am I going to go get it back?
Yeah.
So they run it in the magazine, and then you send them an invoice, and they're like, fuck you. Like, literally, I had numerous companies be like, how are you going to get the money?
Yeah. That's wild.
To get the photo, they're like, oh yeah, of course we're going to, they're not like, of course we're going to pay you, because who would think that you're not going to get paid?
Right.
Did you report them to the Better Business Bureau?
I mean, this will come as a surprise to no one given what happened with TransWorld, but I threatened to take people to small claims court. Like,
yeah.
But then it's like, it's just not worth it, because you're never going to be able to collect the money anyway.
Right.
The most ridiculous thing that I recall, so this one company used a photo of mine on a t-shirt, And I sent them an invoice, and the guy calls me up and he's like, "We can't pay you." And literally, it might have been $300. It might have been $250. I don't even remember. Not a lot of money if you own a business.
Yeah.
Right. The guy's like, "Yeah, we'll pay you $10 a month for 2 or 3 years." I was like, no. Like, who comes up with this stuff? You know?
How could that guy's business even last that long if that's his mentality?
I mean, he just doesn't want to be like, I get it. You don't want to cut into your own convenience, right? Like you make enough money to live comfortably, but to take $250 out of that 1 month is going to like hurt you a little bit, even though you know you owe me the money.
Yeah.
Right. So they're just like, I don't want to be inconvenienced.
Right. I hear you. And you know what? I gotta take a really quick break.
Classic Bigzo piss break.
If you want to take a break, that's up to you, Tom. If not, you guys could talk about Andy McDonald. He's also from Boston.
He's actually from Newton, but yes.
Yeah, he is from Newton. Big. You messed up.
I
heard Andy didn't have to participate in gym class because
you beat me to it.
Okay, all right, because he would go skate. He would go skate some vert ramp or some. I don't know.
The vert ramp at ZT Maximus.
Oh, word. Okay, yeah, I remember my friend Nate Riley. I think went to school with Andy.
Andy went to Newton North. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. So he did. Yeah, he would go skate, and it's funny. I mean, I'm not disrespecting anyone, but it's funny. Like you look at the animal chin ramp, which is, I'm going to say, you look at the height of it, not the complexity of it, but you look at the vert ramp at Maximus. Was it 9 feet tall at the time? Yeah, like maybe there was an extension, but like I think the bowl at Hyde Park is probably 8 feet deep. Like it's just funny when you think of like what a vert ramp was 20 years ago.
Right. I remember, Bigzo and I grew up going to Coliseum skate shop.
Oh yeah, sure.
One of the owners had a mini ramp in his backyard, but at that point, like a backyard like mini ramps, like a kind of like just like a 6-foot vert ramp, and it's not it's not like the same thing you would assume with like a backyard mini ramp now is going to be like 3, maybe 4 feet with like pretty like, maybe a little steep transition, but pretty mellow, not going vert,
Yeah. There was, I think I was at High Cascade, which is near Mount Hood, which is on Mount Hood, or somewhere in that area. Someone had a mini ramp that literally was maybe 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
Like it was, but the transition was so quick because there's not, I mean,
there's no other choice. There's no,
yeah. I mean, it's not a bank, right? So
right. If you don't make the transition tight, then it's just flat essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and the flat was like way too long for being like a 2 foot tall mini ramp. But
that's kind of what they put at like a lot of those prefab parks, like around like 2000, like 3, 4, whatever, when they're making all those like cement prefabs. A lot of them have those little micro ramps, which is like 2
so they would
foot
just
transition with like probably like 8 to 10 feet of flat in the middle. So like you're going slow, then all of a sudden it's like. You're like real quick, and then all of a sudden, like you have no speed, and
yeah,
pretty fun.
Yeah, like the Malden one.
The Malden. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what did I miss?
Andy Mack skipping gym class, skating in CT Max.
Mm-hmm.
Story's true.
Yeah. It's true.
Yep.
The Maximus, right?
Yep.
I've also seen videos of Andy Mack playing with devil sticks from like his high school TV class. Courtesy of Nate Riley. He was really good at devil sticks.
So what?
Haven't seen that, but
it's good.
So when you were shooting the photos of Canton, was that, I forget? Did he mention, was that was the Aftermath tour? Was that the Osiris tour that was in Big Brother Crap?
I think that was the lead up to the storm, actually.
Because pre-Aftermath.
Well, yeah,
the pre-math.
Right, there you go. Yeah, so it's funny. The reason I asked about the Coliseum demo is because I had just come back from some trip in California, and I think Dave Coyne or someone was like, "Hey, we're going to do this demo. or maybe I just come back from, I don't know, anyway, I just driven this way, to the East Coast.
Right.
And went up to the Coliseum demo and they're like, hey, hop in the van, come back to California with us. And I was like, hell yeah, why not?
Wait, you just moved on the spot from a Coliseum demo?
Yeah. I was like,
That's
I had
wild.
my gear with me. Of course I had
Yeah.
my gear with me. I'm a photographer.
What about your lease that you had signed?
Well, this is why I was living at 486 on the floor with a bunch of my friends, because someone else was dealing with that.
Oh, okay.
Right, yeah.
Like it was like a crash pad. Like there was a stretch of at least 6 months where I never went home. Like I had a place in Alston, moved to California, I didn't break my lease. I, found a substitute roommate or whatever you call it, left that place. And then I ended up moving back to Boston. Was sort of, was living at 486 and trying to figure out what I was going to do next. And then actually ended up moving back into the same house I lived in several years earlier when I was in Alston. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely, it's just, you don't have shit, I mean, it's funny. There was, speaking of Mike Burnett and being on tour and not having a place to live, I had driven out, I think he was living in El Segundo at the time or something. And I was about to go to Europe with Powell. And I was like, hey, man, can I just park my car in your driveway? Because I need somewhere to leave it. Yeah. And he's like, you can't leave it in my driveway. But like, unlike in New England, like you could just leave it on the side of the street in the neighborhood and they're not going to just randomly tow it because they don't do that in California. But I came back 3 months later and there were like 900 coat hangers. Like every kid in the city had tried to get into this car. So,
what'd you have in there? Gummy
Nothing.
worms or something?
I mean, they were just like, there's a free car waiting to be stolen. It hadn't moved in 3 months. You got to figure something's up.
Yeah, they don't have street cleaning in California, huh?
There's no leaves falling. There's,
Yeah.
There's no snow.
Yeah, no snow emergencies.
So you weren't necessarily thriving out there in California where the industry was?
Thriving. It's an interesting question. I mean, I'll go back to, there are a bunch of funny cultural things, but I'll go back to the thing where it's sort of like, I'm trying to get something done. Like I had done the math, right? If I could sell a full page photo or shoot one a day, I could calculate my income for the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, that's not how skating works. Like you're not producing widgets, right? Like you got to get psyched to go to some thing and be psyched to do it and jump down a 20 stair. I mean, it's not 20 stairs, but whatever the trick is, you got to be like, and that just doesn't happen every day. Mm-hmm. And then it was interesting because TransWorld wouldn't put me on a retainer, but they also said that if I shot for other magazines, we were done. And I was like, okay, well, you got to pick one because I can't earn a living shooting only for you.
Yeah,
like this just doesn't economically work for me. But it worked for them because they're trying to be the best magazine. So if I have a relationship with Jamie Thomas and TransWorld sitting on the photos, I can't just go give it to Big Brother or whatever,
Yeah.
So there were just weird little things like that. I will say that after living there for a couple of years, I mean, I'd certainly gotten in well with Powell, and I'd certainly gotten in well with the guys at Osiris. I think that part of, like, this was right before companies, like this was right before the light bulb moment in the industry where it was like, I'm not going to work for a magazine. I'm going to work for a company. They're going to pay my salary. I'm going to have access to all their writers. I'm going to shoot all the interviews of them. I'm going to shoot all their ads. And so there's like, when you switch the economics of it that way, it becomes a much more viable business model. And if you want to talk to someone from Boston who's done it, you should speak with Ben Colin, who moved out to LA and worked for Girl.
Yeah. I'm familiar with Ben Colin because the professor at the SMFA who sold me my first van, he's a big fan of Ben Colin. Somehow he has ties with the SMFA. I think he was a student there. But so I've seen his photography, but I've never actually spoken to him in person. But yeah, I mean, becoming like a staff photographer for Crailtab, I'm sure is ideal, having that sort of steady income.
Yeah, I mean, so think about Powell, right? They've got a board company, they've got a bearing company, they've got a wheel company. Like if you were just to shoot all those riders, like let's just say you could shoot one of them a day and either a Powell ad or whatever, or just some other ad, right? It was just like the aha moment for me just happened too late, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was, the industry was set up a million years ago. You worked at a magazine and you sold your sort of extra photos to the ads, or to the companies. But the genius idea to make it economically viable was to go work for a company and sell your photos to the magazine, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure even the biggest photographers in skateboarding, I'm sure, think of the skateboarding aspect as a side hustle at this point. I mean, I don't really know. I just assume that like Atiba is actually doing photography as well for like GQ or some Vanity Fair or
He
some
does
other
stuff for the NBA a lot too.
Yeah, some other huge companies, but you know, the passion is still in skateboarding because that's where it got its start, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
I could be wrong.
I think that there were just some discrepancies, or let me see, I want to make sure I say this correctly. I mean, Atiba was a staff photographer at TransWorld since day one. And had access to, you know, all the biggest names because of his position, which is awesome. He was just a different. I mean, I'll just say it. I remember once he was like, my accountant told me I made too much money, so I had to buy a house. Like I never had that problem.
Yeah.
So
he had to buy the house for what? A tax write-off?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I was like, can I put gas in my tank or food in my mouth?
Well, you know, that's what I'm saying. That's where I that's where I feel like we've always been at. And, you know, we still are just so happy to be, you know, part of skateboarding because we love it. But it's a weird thing where, I don't know. I mean, photography is completely different because that's like, you know, you're documenting the actual skateboarding. I mean, I obviously film all the Fancy Lad videos, so there's that aspect that goes into it, where I try to make the videos as, you know, as good as I can and as unique as I can and some sort of artistic vision. But it's kind of weird trying to sway. I mean, there's a combination of the politics, right? But there's also a combination of just the general, as far as I'm saying for our content, the general just collective consciousness of skateboarding, you know, and how many people are just out there to support you. So it's tough when everybody has such a hard sort of, they've already made their minds up about what skateboarding should be. It's kind of tough, I feel like, for them to kind of branch out of that sort of mentality. But
yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting. I remember I'm nearly 99% certain I remember this correctly, but I think when Dimitri started shooting before he became like, or maybe even when he was shooting for Big Brother, I remember like I believe he shot some like rollerblade stuff or whatever, but just because, you know, you're like, hey, it's money, you know, yeah. But like skateboarding would be like, you can't do that. Right. And you're like, okay, I guess I can, you know, but like
you also pay me not to do it then.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think to your point, I think being a successful skate photographer is just like being a successful skateboarder. Right. I mean, there was just an amount of living in a house with 10 people that I just hit a wall at. You know, I was like, I can't just keep doing this for the rest of my life. And
oh my God, tell you about it, because I just today woke up and someone threw out the toilet brush. And if you saw the amount of shit that was in the toilet, oh my God, I tell you, it was ridiculous.
Wait, did they throw out the toilet brush because of the amount of shit that was in the toilet?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it. Damn. But I'm just saying that's the sacrifices you make when you live in a skate house. It sucks, you know?
No, I mean, I don't want to say that. I don't think that's true. I mean, I had a great time at 486 and, couch surfing across the country. And, I just felt like for me to move on with my life, like everyone, well, I don't want to say everyone, but like, Mike Burnett, Rhino, like a bunch of guys, like I know from cutting their teeth photography back when I was doing it, they're like married, have kids. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't see a path to ever making enough money where it would be feasible or responsible for my perspective to bring another human being into this world. Cause I'm like, I can barely feed myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to go have a kid.
Right.
And that's like something I want out of my life. And so it's like, you make decisions,
No, I get it. Trust
and
me.
there's nothing wrong with skateboarding. It's just like the timing didn't work out. I mean, it's not funny, haha, but like if I just stuck in with it, like suddenly the sine wave of skateboarding got popular again right after I left.
Yeah.
Maybe that was why.
Yeah. They were just waiting for you to leave.
Yeah.
All right,
What
he's
was-
gone. Let's do it.
Is there any like one like favorite tour that you've been on or anything?
Oh man. I mean, there's so many stories, but I mean, the Powell trip to China was ridiculous because A, we were in China, and B, no one spoke Chinese and no one in China spoke English. And it was just an epic, like, it was so awesome because it was so ridiculous. And oh my God, the stories of me and Charlie, Mike, and Stacy Lowry just being on our own, trying to like get food that we felt comfortable eating. And just, it was comedy gold. I mean, there's so many, oh my God. Okay. I'll have to tell you this one story. So the guy that was sort of our tour guide picked us up at the airport and brought us to our hotel. And he wrote some stuff down on a piece of paper and he gave it to the chef. And he's like, "Oh, I'll be here tomorrow to pick you guys up." We're like, "All right, great." So we go down into the dining room, and it's like any Chinese restaurant style where there's just a massive seats everywhere. And it also has those tanks with the fish and everything in it. It's got the water purifiers and everything. And they sat us right next to the tanks, probably because that was a great place to sit,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, so the first thing we noticed is it's kind of disturbing because there are these, frogs whose legs had been broken, so they couldn't hop out. And that was sort of just depressing to see. But there's like fish and turtles. It's like an aquarium, right? We've been to a Chinese restaurant, it's the exact same thing, crabs, everything. One of the crazy things was they had these live little sharks that maybe were longer than your average banana. I don't know, like we'll just say 8 inches or something, right? They were like not so large that a few of them couldn't swim in an aquarium, but they weren't like guppies at all, right? They were sharks, and there was no guessing that they were sharks. So we're sitting there and we're just like, this is, like just soaking the whole thing in. And, every now and then someone comes by and the crazy thing was to get anything out of the tanks, they had literally these guppy nets, and they would just like pin a fish to the side of the tank, reach in, pull out the fish, put it in the basket or whatever it was, and walk into the kitchen with it. And we're like, wow, I've never seen that before. Like it just sort of is interesting. So we're talking amongst ourselves and being entertained about how crazy being in China is. And there are two guys come over to the tank and they're going to go try to get a shark. And they're at the shark tank. And so they're behind. So we have the front row seat and they're behind it, but everything's transparent because it's water and you can see everything. It's also probably worth mentioning at this point that the world's largest extension cord octopus is feeding all of these tanks. And that's sort of a spoiler alert to what's about to happen.
Yeah.
But these two guys team up because those sharks don't have bones in them. They're all what's it called? Not gelatin, whatever, they're cartilage. They're all cartilage. So this one guy, he's got the shark pinned against the side of the tank with this little fish net. It's like a pipe cleaner. It's how strong it is. And the other guy grabs the shark by the tail, which is the way I would approach it too. And he pulls the shark out of the water, and the shark does a like complete scorpion, like folds itself in half and snaps at this guy's hand. And he does what any normal human being would do, is he lets go and drops the shark. Shark falls back in the tank. A bunch of water gets displaced. Water lands on the electrical extension octopus. There's a giant explosion, a ball of fire. All the electricity in the first floor goes off, and everything in the tanks, like all the tanks, was electrocuted.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we're sitting there like,
even the poor crippled frogs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's water in their tank.
No.
Yeah. And so we were sitting there like, holy shit, frogs. What did we just see? And then we're like, are we going to still eat dinner here?
Yeah. He's like, anyone want some fried crabs?
Yeah. It was
electrified.
It was it was just like, you can't make the truth is stranger than fiction, right? Like,
yeah.
Other things about China. So
was that like around like 96?
97.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and when we were in China, so it's pre-Olympics, so this is why no one spoke English yet. Because I think the first Olympics were held in like 98 or 2000 or something in China. And the other thing that was crazy about China was, so both Mike V and Stacey Lowry are, I'm not tall, but they're tall white dudes and they have tattoos, which is not a thing that happens a lot in China, right? Mm-hmm. And so people, I will never forget this. Like, they're like throwing their board down, skating to do a trick, and someone just runs up to them, grabs their arm, spits in their hand, and tries to rub off their tattoo. And you're just like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then the other thing that was funny, so we were taking a train, I think from Shanghai to Xinguandao, which is where the Great Wall meets the Pacific Ocean. And this isn't like the subway. This is like a train you see in a movie from like the 40s, right? Like wooden bench seats, whatever. So we're sitting down and we're, there's four of us. So we've got the two seats that face each other. And there's a kid, well, kind of everyone on the train was staring at us, but there was a kid who was literally like on the edge of the seat, like just staring right at Charlie. And as soon as Charlie turned around this camera, the kid like freaked out, but like there's no, or back then there was no concept of like MySpace. Yeah. I don't mean the website, right. Free Friendster. I mean, like I don't want to say you didn't have privacy, but there was no like, it was just a free for all. And then at one point, I think we're in this city called Xin, and we were skiing. I have a photo of Stacy, and there's sort of like a natural quarter pipe that's, like this wide, and it's just a wall, and we were shooting some photos, and a crowd had gathered to watch the circus, air quotes, but it's illegal for crowds to gather in China. That's actually true. So the cops came, not because we were skateboarding, but to disperse the crowd. And it was insane because they're trying to talk. They weren't trying to talk to us. They were talking to us, but they were speaking to us in Chinese, and we don't speak Chinese. So it was just like, I could pretend not to know what was going on for the first time in my life and kind of have a leg to stand on. And I'm just like, let's just shoot the photo,
Yeah.
But it was just no one was upset that you were skating anything. They were just concerned that a crowd had gathered. And it was really interesting. Like, obviously we were the reason the crowd had gathered, which is they were like, you can't do this anymore. But they weren't like, oh, you're destroying this 2,000-year-old monastery you're skateboarding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, China, after the fish tank explosion, we went out to try to find food, and that whole night, just the most amazing story about not singing karaoke. I don't think I can actually tell that story. It is so hilarious.
So the story is that you did not sing karaoke.
No, but I will allude to what happened in the story, because I was the only one of the four of us who was suspicious of how fantastic we were, And I was like, when was the last? So I just asked the group. I was like, when was the last time you were in a club in America and any woman ever acted like this to you? You know, like we had chicks bringing us drinks, and keep in mind, we don't speak Chinese and they don't speak. It was insane. Like literally
stranger in a strange land. You don't even know
and then they were like, oh, the bill is whatever it was. And we're like, we haven't even eaten anything. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you happen to be on, the first demo I ever went to was Powell with Charlie Wilkins, Stacey Lowry, Mike V, and Gershon Mosley at 8 Ball Skate Park. Did you happen to be at that demo?
I'm not. Do you know what year that was? It sounds pretty familiar.
That was 96. That's
I was gonna say that's why
I was clocking that year for that roster.
Yeah. Well, we were the tour I was on, so that would have been the year before. But the tour I was on was where we had the portable mini ramp. Have you ever seen that? Powell is a guy who trucks the mini ramp around, and
I don't think so.
There's nothing to skate at the local skate shop. You can do a mini ramp demo.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know if was that in any video. Was there any video that was documented?
I mean, it was in a Powell video for sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But which one? I don't know.
Probably like Scenic Drive or something like that.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd like to ask you just, I guess, what your personal, what's your personal favorite spot or photo that you've taken? I was just looking at all the photos, and I just love, I mean, that spot with the 2 banks and the tunnel. I don't know what that spot's called, but I always thought that was like such a dream spot kind of growing up, and I have no idea where it was, and it obviously doesn't exist anymore.
2 banks and the tunnel.
You know what I'm talking about? It's got like a tube.
Turtles?
Was it called Turtles?
Was it Turtles with like it has like the 3 big like full pipes, and they like have?
Oh yeah. I believe that is Turtles. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the photos over here. I'm like, which one is 2 and a tunnel? But you're talking about Turtles. Yeah. So I'll tell you, the funny thing is, when I first went to Turtles, I was like, what is there to skate here? And keep in mind, I'm a shitty skateboarder. But even I was like, there's some fancy lad grade A cracked cement ground, and just rough as shit, giant frost heaves and vines roots from the trees in the park. Like I was like, man, what is this spot? Because everyone's like, oh, there's a skate spot. And I went there and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, there's nothing to skate here. But, you bring someone like Charlie or someone who can skate. He's the photo I think you're referring to is the kickflip indie grab over the tubes.
Yeah.
At Turtles. And then there was actually the photo of Mike. That's actually my board. He's my filming board. He's skating. I don't even know why. We were just driving by one day and I was like, oh, let's just shoot that photo. And the next day they bulldozed it. So thank God, got the last photo ever shot at Turtles, Yeah.
Where was that? Just out of curiosity.
Like what Turtles?
What part of Boston was that?
Oh, so if you were
for my own curiosity.
Yeah. So if you were up in Alston, it was on the Charles River. So, but to get there, if you would go through Alston, and it's sort of near the Alston ice skating rink, like you'd be there and you'd cross the Star Drive, or not Star, Soldiers Field Road. And on the other side would be, I mean, now it's still a public park there, but it's been raised and there's like a spray deck for kids in the summer and stuff like that. But
it's where it would have been where our stage spot is. Our slidey ground stage spot with the stadium seating, the outside one.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. It's there.
Weird.
Not in that same spot, but at that same location, past Lower Alston.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I really like the photo of the ollie, the tall ollie over the pole. I always love that in photos where you get that low. I'm assuming it's like a low shutter speed with that sort of like ghostly looking like transparency for the skater.
Yeah, that was Mike Graham in Copley Square, right in front of the Trinity Church. That was, nighttime photo. longish or longer exposure, to get the lights burned in the background and everything. Was the original question, what's my favorite place to like skate or
favorite spot, favorite photo, favorite spot / favorite photo that you've taken? But I guess, yeah, I guess that's it. I don't know if you have one.
Honestly, favorite spot. I love skating the Cambridge Pool. Like, it's so rare to be a New Englander and have something like that to even, like, tell me when you skated at a backyard bowl,
right?
Like, this isn't California,
right?
That's what I'm saying. So, like, it was shitty. It was enormous, and it would kill you. And the kids in the neighborhood would throw rocks at you while you're skating. So, in that sense, it was like thrashing. We made that reference earlier.
Yeah.
But, it was like the perfect New England spot. It was hardcore. And just to be clear, I'm not hardcore anymore. I'm not even sure I was back then, but I was like, I fucking loved it because to me, that thing encapsulated New England. I remember skating there in
Jake
November.
Phelps' favorite spot.
Say it again.
Jake Phelps' favorite spot.
And understandably so. Like, I skated there in November where your hands are freezing and we all know what it feels like to like slap your hands on concrete or brick when it's cold out. And, like it's getting dark as shit. And, it's like 5 o'clock at night and you're in the projects and it's a total classic New England spot,
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Favorite photo is difficult because it'd be like you were saying earlier, like what if there was one type of band or whatever the thing was,
Yeah.
You kind of go back and forth. I will say that, I was very proud. Again, I'm not sure that's the right word. Happy maybe is the right word. When Charlie got the cover of TransWorld, or I got the cover with Charlie's photo. Because the funny thing was, and of course there's a story behind that photo.
What was the photo again? What was the trick?
It's he's just doing I think he's doing a lean. It's in like a sort of half full pipe at a mall. So I just flown into the Powell Tour in like North Carolina, and we're at a skate shop where the demo's happening, and there's this, like, imagine a pill, and that's the shape of the entrance to this mall with perfect transitions going over vert. It's
kind
literally
like the Big O in Montreal.
There you go. Right. Yeah. Just very much larger. Right.
Yeah.
And so so there's a photo of it in the skate shop, and I'm like, hey, can you tell me where this is? Because I'm definitely going to go skate this sometime tonight. And the kid's like, yeah, here's the address or whatever. And so I had actually shot the photo horizontally, thinking that it would make a perfect content spread, because you've got Charlie over here and there's this curve shape, and then just all of this is just empty dead space where you could lay out the contents. And so I was very, very surprised when I found out that they used it for the cover. And I think, I don't know, it was either Michael Furukawa, who was working at Powell at the time, or Charlie. Like, at that point, I had gotten off the Powell tour and the magazine had just come out. And again, this is pre-cell phone, so people are like paging me and I'm like missing them on my call back. And it just would have been funny. But somehow I think Charlie had told me, but I can only imagine like how excited I would have been to walk into TransWorld and see like a full rack of my photo on the cover, without knowing. But yeah, that was great because, I love Charlie. He's a great guy. He's always, he's a brother to me, like couldn't happen to a nicer guy,
He's, he really killed a lot of the rails that are still around here in JP too.
Yeah, there's the one over by the school, and there's that park that's right next to the school.
Yeah, the Brookside rail and the Agassiz rail.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There's that one photo that I sent the 5 Kink, which was in Wayne, New Jersey. And there's a fabulous story about that. Another Kula crazy idea. So I was in Columbus, Ohio, and at the time there was a like a convention center in downtown Columbus, and it had this insane handrail that Keith Huffenagel eventually skated, and Gabe Morford shot a photo, and it was a DC ad after we had gone there and shot a photo. And it's like a 8 or 10 stair rail, and then without exaggerating, there's like a 20-foot flat, and then there's a drop off to like a 3 stair rail, and it's a perfect square, enormously wide rail. And so I was like, man, I got to come back here with someone to skate this. So I come back to Boston. And again, Mike, this is just the way I work. I'm like, hey, Charlie, hey, Mike, you guys want to go skate this handrail out in Ohio? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I explained it to them. And they're like, yeah, let's go check it out. So before going, I called the Columbus Police Department. And I was like, hey, I want to make sure that the Columbus Day Parade is on, because I hear it goes by the convention center, and make sure that like people are going to be there and the police will be there. And the guy's like, there's no parade. And I'm like, you're sure there's no parade at the convention center on Columbus? You know, because I was like making up some insane scenario for him to tell me we won't be there. Right. So we drive like, I don't know, here to Chicago, 16 hours behind the wheel. So let's just say it's 12 or 14 hours to get to Columbus. We like wake up, drive out there Saturday, I take them by it. We get a hotel room, sleep, wake up the next day, like 4 tries, Mike does it. And we just get in the car and we're driving back to Wayne, New Jersey, which is where Vinny Ponte had told us that 5Kinker is. And so we're driving there, and we just on the side of the, like not on the side of the road, like it's a waste, but we just like on the side of the highway, we see this office park with this beautiful, mellow, curved, flat, squarish rail. And I'm like, fuck it, dude, let's just go there. So we pull over, shoot a sheep ad for Charlie, get back in the car, get to Wayne, New Jersey. We had a friend who used to live with us at 486, Nancy Fischetti, lived there at the time. We stayed at her house, woke up the next day. It was Sunday. We drive to the high school. We shoot the photo. We get back in the car and we drive to Boston.
Damn.
Yeah. And it's funny again.
Packing it in.
Yeah. And it's funny because so I sent the photo of the Columbus rail to TransWorld thinking it's going to be a 2-page spread because honestly, it's such an enormous rail. And I don't think anyone ever skate. I mean, there's nothing I can think of that compares to it.
You can't even fit it on one page.
Well, that's why it would be, I shot horizontally, so it'd be a 2-page spread. Like you'd have to. Never ran it. And then, so they used the photo of Charlie on the 5Kinker. And again, I was like, hey, Don Brown wants the footage for the sheep video. And Grant's like, well, if you send them the footage, we're not going to use the photo. So like, there's that again. And then I mentioned the curved rail, and he's like, well, we want that photo too. And I'm like, well, are you going to run it? Cause I need to like make my money back from this trip. Like I just paid for gas to drive halfway across the country, a hotel room, like the shooting film back then, got to get it developed. Like shit adds up, Yeah. So it was difficult. I mean, those are the sorts of adventures that I just like, I'll never forget that stuff. I mean, when I think about the Charlie, the 5Kink photo and a couple of the other photos, I just think about, I don't know if you know who this photographer is, Daniel Harold Sturt. Have you ever heard of him?
Oh yeah. Shot a portion of this film, Zero Skateboards. So
he, from my point of view, hands down, the best skateboard photographer, period. Like it's not even debatable. Other people have different opinions, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I think about, and I've heard the stories about the shoots he goes on, right? Like Jeremy Ray awling the water tower gap or whatever those things are, like,
legend.
Yeah. You just hear, but the stories to get the photos are like, and the photos were, Jeff Rowley's like about to 50-50 grind that ledge at Long Beach Convention Center. Like this is the guy that takes like one photo and like he's done, because his photos are perfect. And so I remember shooting the 5Kinker, and I was debating in my mind whether to wait until, like at the end of a 50-50 grind, Charlie would just be like, he'd have just his back truck on. He'd be just about to come off the rail.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just shoot the frame before that, because we're not going to do this 300 times. How many times are you going to 50-50 grind a 5Kink rail,
Right.
Like once. But yeah, so it's just, that guy's been inspiring. And I think about not just the photo that makes a good photo, but the story behind the photo that makes a good photo. Like Canton's double set, I heard him talking about it. I remember, so I had to climb a tree to put a flash in to illuminate the ollie, and Jamie Thomas is on the ground. I'm like, hey man, can you hand me the flash? And he's like, sure. And, you know, I'd known Jamie for a bit at this point. And, you know, we're skateboarders. We're all fucking with each other. I'm like leaning down to get the flash. And he's like doing the thing where like, if you were starting the car so someone couldn't get in it. And I'm like trying not to fall out of the tree, but get the flash. And, you know, it's just like, it's just fun, you know?
Oh yeah. It's about the memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I mean, yeah, it'd be hard to say a favorite photo because they're all, I mean, you know,
yeah,
I mean, I'll tell you, I was amazed might be the right word, but at least surprised when we went to a skate shop in China and they had that, the opening spread of the Jesse Newhouse interview I shot in Chicago, on the wall, you know, like it's just always a great feeling to see that someone else liked your photo, you know, I mean, of course I like it. I shot it. I mean, which isn't entirely true. They're not all great, but you know,
I mean, it's just the recognition of knowing you're making an impact out there, you know?
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far. I don't,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I, you know, went to a random skate shop and saw him watch my video, I would kind of be like, oh my God, you know, I would kind of like trip out a little bit and be like, wow.
Yeah, but I think the flip side to that is all the photos that you think are good, either for technical or creative reasons that never got run, you know, like to me, that's sort of the flip side of the coin, you know? And I think that also goes back to being in the East Coast before lots of these guys were sponsored, and what are you going to do, you know?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite filmer for just in general, just like skate filmer, just out of curiosity? I don't know if it like branches over to that for you at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say Dan Wolf's Eastern Exposure 3 was game changer, you know? Yeah. And I think honestly, there's guys I worked with, Chakas, who ended up dying when he fell at a skate park in San Diego a few years ago. The guys I met on the Osiris tour, this guy Richie B, that I don't think is involved in skateboarding anymore, Steve Solentani, you know, the guys that you meet that are your friends and everything. Like, yeah, I look up to them. They were great filmers. Mark Nichols is still filming, lives in Berlin now. Has been there for, God, probably since the storm, so like 20 some odd years. Yeah, I mean, all those guys are great, or from my point of view, really influenced like what good filming looked like, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird having to be I mean, it's not that weird, but it's weird just having to be a skater, you know, just cuz I feel like a lot of skaters don't really think of they don't really have that sort of technical brain, I feel like a lot of the time.
About what?
Obviously everyone ends up being like just a homie filmer, you know? But like to really excel in the filming, like usually people film just because they're there, you know, and somebody needs it filmed. But you know, to actually have that sort of passion to be, you know, really take it seriously, I feel like is kind of few and far between in skaters. I don't know.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about, maybe, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, is the people who do that are people who also edit, right? Like, you could have me film your video, but like someone is the mastermind behind setting it to music, putting, you know, like when Jamie was putting together the Zero video, it's like, it's his project, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he lays it all out, and the music and the parts and the sequencing and everything, you know? Mm-hmm. Again, the guys who I just mentioned, Dan Wolf, et cetera, all did that. Like, I'm not really aware of too many people who were quote unquote, like just filming, you know, they were like people who had, you know, you're talking about like someone like Mike Trinaski who makes Plan B videos, you know, like who has a vision and like knows how to put it together. Like a filmer could just be, like you're saying, like the guy with the iPhone nowadays. You know, like,
Right.
oh, you happen to be here and there's a dude jumping down 20 stairs and you just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah,
You know?
I need you to dad cam this real quick, just because it needs to be documented. You know.
Yeah, but like we were saying earlier, I mean, every Thrasher video, every video I see, period, there's like a crew at every spot, which is something that didn't normally happen. You know, you've got people with generated powered lights, you've got a couple of filmers, you've got a couple of photographers, you've got like 8 skateboarders. It's like, it literally looks like there's a production company on site now for any photo shoot, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happened. I think it's good for the sport because I think it is going to excel when people are skating random weird things you find in the world, as opposed to necessarily skating a park. There's nothing wrong with park skating, but I think the sport's going to evolve more the more crazy real world stuff you stumble across, you know?
Yeah.
I will say that one of my favorite photos, because I love the city of Chicago and I didn't shoot it, so that's why I'm sort of setting this up, is, and I can't remember the fellow's name who did, but there's a photo of Josh Casper. You know that Picasso sculpture in Richard Daley Plaza?
Yeah, the sort of bank to wall.
Yeah, bank to wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a photo that I actually have in my house, and it's probably kind of rare that I'd like a photo so much that I'd buy it, seeing as I have access to so many skate photos.
Right.
But yeah, it's Josh doing a kickflip wall ride, and there's like pigeons in the foreground, and they're flying up, and they're out of focus, and it's just to me, it's such a classic skateboarding and Chicago like combination shot. Like it's perfect, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
And then, I mean, there's other Joel Peck out of France. There's also, you know, there's tons of great photographers over in Europe as well. And again, there's less libelous judicial systems over there. So, or litigious, I should say. So, you know, I remember when we were in France and skating with Stéphane Laurent, and we were at like the Paris version of City Hall. And I was like, oh, what if someone falls and gets hurt? Which is how we think in America. Like, aren't you going to sue the city? And he's like, oh, you might as well sue the rain for falling from the sky. I'm like, yeah, I think we try to do that in America too.
Yeah, that's a good comeback for the security guards that are kicking you out. You know.
Yeah, but it's, I mean,
liability.
They just have different approaches on it, and I think it's healthier. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we gotta wrap this up, but I mean, is there anything that we're missing? Is there anything you wanted to just speak your mind about, you know, before you left the podcast? I don't know what you were expecting when you came on. Hopefully we covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about what led me to leave skateboarding, but it's probably best to just leave that water under the bridge, you know. The big fallout with TransWorld is maybe a whole nother episode. And it'd be funny to hear Grant's side of the story, but yeah.
I did say I wanted to hear that Grant story.
But you do?
I did say I did want to hear that Grant story. Yeah, I mean, back when you mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, again, I'm certain he has a different take on what happened, but the way things ended, I'd be hard-pressed to find out where my version of the story is not wholly factual, okay?
Yeah. So
I went on a tour with the Invisible Team in the Southwest U.S.
Laban.
Yep. Laban, Max Dufour, John the Man Reeves, Nanda Zip, a bunch of really cool people.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tobias Walker might have been on the tour as well. And so we're at a mini ramp and I shoot a photo of John Reeves. So it's probably like 97-ish. So I'm traveling, going on one tour to another. And just somehow someone says to me, like, hey, I think TransWorld used a photo of yours as a cover of a CD that they put out with Warp Magazine, or maybe Warp Magazine and PepsiCo, meaning Mountain Dew. So I'm like either going to Europe or coming back from Europe or something. And I just call Grant and leave a message on his voicemail because he's not at work. So never hear back from him, and years go by. And the skater I know calls me out of the blue, and he's like, hey, I was just down at a demo in a state that I won't mention because it'll pretty much pinpoint who this person is. And he's like, and they were giving away these CDs with your photo on it. And I was like, can you mail that to me? And he's like, sure. So I have this photo, well, I have the CD that TransWorld produced in conjunction with PepsiCo and Interscope Records, if I remember correctly. And it was to promote the Warped Tour or something, I don't remember. And not only do I have outtakes of the photo, like, you know, you go to a session and you shoot like 5 of the same trick and you use one and then you get 4 of the exact same trick sort of sitting in your bag. But they had actually credited me for the photo, right? It says photo G Kula, or just as Kula, who knows? So I'm like, all right. So I call Grant and I'm like, hey, Grant, remember a couple of years ago, like I called you and asked you about this thing and I never heard back from you. And I said, now I'm looking at the CD in my hand. And he says something like, yeah, send me some invoice for $300 and I'll pay you. And I was like, dude, I'm not sending you an invoice for $300. What are you, insane? Like, I'm like, give me $5,000 and we'll call it an even deal. And he goes, $5,000? What are you, crazy? No one's ever been paid $5,000 for a photo. And so I said, well, if you didn't get paid $5,000 by the United States Postal Service for the photo you sold them of Vendi Mac, you're a moron. Or maybe I called him an idiot. I don't know. I made some derogatory comment. So clearly we're already not on good terms. So at that point, he goes something like, you'll never win, or he said something like, you'll never get the money, and he hangs up on me or something like that. So I reach out to a fellow who at the time was shooting skateboarding and snowboarding. His name's Gary Land. He's now a way more famous than I am photographer, and he still shoots snowboarding. And he shoots like NBA and all this stuff. He just had a book come out about Iverson. And I just said, hey, or somehow we were talking, he said he knew a copyright attorney. Because when I was in college studying journalism, I learned about copyright law. And by law, I have the right to all the profit made when someone steals my photo. That's the law. Mm-hmm. It's not my decision. That's the way the law is written. It's to keep people from acting without getting you paid. So I called this guy up and I talked to him and we agreed on the price that I would settle on. And he eventually found out what TransWorld made by producing this CD in conjunction with Interscope and PepsiCo. And by the way, it was more than $5,000.
Yeah.
So Grant Britton calls me up and he's like, I'm like, hello? He's like, the first words out of his mouth are, do you know how much money your lawyer's asking for? And I go, Grant, that's not my problem. And I hung up on him. And then it came to the point where they realized they could fly their attorneys to Boston to lose this case, or they could just pay me the money. Now, at that point, clearly my relationship with TransWorld was over. Right. And again, I'm sure Grant has some different version of the story where I try to fuck him over or whatever. But this is exactly how it happened. Because if they had paid me prior, I wouldn't have been able to sue them. They'd have had an invoice. Like, there's just no logic where I'm telling you something that's not accurate. That said, clearly they weren't happy with the way things turned out. And so they started telling other skateboarders. So at that point, I called up Rick Kosick and I was like, hey, man, my time at TransWorld's over. Like, can I shoot for you guys? And he's like, yeah, of course. So I'd made this trip to go to Miami with Markovich and a bunch of other people. And the day before I'm about to get on a plane, Mark Nichols, the filmer, who's still in America at this point, calls me up and he's like, hey, man, Markovich doesn't want you to go on this trip. He's like, in fact, he might not even go. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, he was just out filming with Atiba and Chris Ortiz. And Atiba told him that no one in the industry would buy your photos because you sued TransWorld. And I was like, okay, well, let's think about that. I can understand why they'd say that, but how does it benefit anyone else to not buy my photos? Right. And I was like, plus, Rick Kosick already greenlit this idea. So just have Markovich call Rick Kosick and he's going to be like, yeah, we want to run the story.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm looking at my future of dealing with this sort of headache every single fucking day the rest of my life. Or I can just be like, had a good run with skateboarding, you know, whatever. And so that was part of what made me decide to leave, you know?
Yeah, it was almost like a blacklisting scenario because of this Warped Tour fiasco.
Well, I mean, it was, but the thing that's weird is, I mean, I just don't have, right? So to me, it seems counterintuitive that Big Brother, who you would think is TransWorld's competition, would not buy my photos because I sued TransWorld, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
I don't have the bandwidth to explain that to every skater I meet who talks to Atiba Jefferson. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I was just like, dude, I don't want to deal with this. And so, you know, put like maybe another year or so in it, and then was like, I'm done shooting skating, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That said, I will say that I think like most people, I really felt like I owed skateboarding something, right? Like, I mean, I don't know about your background, but it seemed like in the 80s, skateboarding was an outlet to save a lot of people's lives. And I don't think I'm being melodramatic about that.
I don't think so either.
Say it again.
I said I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people came from broken homes and whatever, and just skateboarding was their outlet. And it was difficult for me to let go of skateboarding, you know, because I wasn't ever sure I would be able to repay my debt to skateboarding, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, clearly, like I was telling you earlier, we're just so happy to be, you know, part of the game. It like doesn't matter if, you know, we end up making any money or not. It's just I don't know. I can't imagine for myself right now just like trying to just step away from it. It has to be a tough decision, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, it was someone else is trying to force your hand. And, you know, earlier we were talking about like, so sure, I might not be involved in the skate industry anymore, but like no one can ever tell me that I'm not a skateboarder. Like that's my decision, you know?
Right.
And it's interesting because I did talk to Mike V about this concept of like owing skateboarding something. And he's like, I get it. He's like, you don't know skateboarding anything, you know? And like growing up in the 80s, watching Apollo videos, like, and I've never told Mike this, so if he sees this, he might get embarrassed, but like, that's like the Pope absolving you of your sins, you know, like, like I was just like, if this guy says it's, I've done my part, then like, I've done my part, you know, like, I just feel like skateboarding is each individual's right to enjoy and do whatever they want with it. And it's unfortunate that the industry can make it difficult for people. And that's, again, going back to, from my perspective, Thrasher trying to like make or at least promote acceptance of atypical skateboarders, I find encouraging, you know?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And I think skateboarding's at a good place, you know. And I don't know. I wish you know, somebody feels inspired just by the words, you know, that you just said, and decides to just think about how much they. No, you're in it because you love it, obviously, and I don't even know where I'm really going with it, but I don't know. I feel inspired. Hell, you know, and I've been in it for 10 years. You know,
I feel like we took this in a direction we got to end on a high note. I don't know, man.
Yeah. No, I that was interesting. That was a hell of an interesting story. You know,
hell of a cheese dip.
Hell of a cheese dip. You know. No, I think you ended on a high note, you know. Your passion and love for skateboarding is obviously there, you know. No matter what. No matter whether you're, you know, in it or not, you know, ever since just the influence that it's had on you in your entire life, you know.
Yeah, I mean it's like Charlie when the Vans Triple Crown vert contest was happening on Boston City Hall Plaza. It's like when you're a kid growing up skateboarding, watching Bones Brigade videos, you never think Steve Cab is going to be at a party at your house.
Right.
And like, I remember talking to Charlie that night, and he's like, dude, I can't believe, like, you would just never think this, you know? And I'm so grateful for all the people I met through skateboarding and all the experiences I've had. I mean, I got paid to travel the world and goof off with my friends, and who could ask for anything more than that, you know?
Right. Well, there you go.
That is the dream.
There you have it. There's the note to end it on right there.
That's a good note to end it on. That is true.
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
Jeff,
Well, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
You know what? It was great getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff, for coming on. I'm glad we had a chance to finally actually talk here.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime. You guys need anything, just let me know.
It's it's rare that we have someone of such intellect.
I know.
Honestly,
I was going to
so
say,
well spoken.
I know. I was going to say if we need someone for a logical point of view on something, we might hit you up in the future because you're very astute.
Yeah.
I think it's the math background. Too much logic.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm a math scientist myself, so
Are you?
Bigzo here, he's a word scientist.
That's true.
so
Nice.
Yeah.
so we're right there with you.
Yeah. And hopefully one day, since we live so close to each other, we get to meet in the flesh.
Yeah. We'll definitely hit up the park and then go to Sammy for some brews.
There you go.
Hey, not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
No,
We'll
we
figure it
probably
out.
should do it in that order. That's true. That's true. We don't want to go to the park with a bunch of empty, free Sam Adams shot glasses, rattling around in our hoodie pouches.
I'm just thinking I'm going to be sore from skating, so maybe a beer,
Yeah. That sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make it a plan.
All right, we'll do it,
Springtime.
definitely.
Springtime
Thanks a lot, guys.
2022.
All right,
It's in the
thanks a lot,
books.
Jeff.
All right. Have a good night, Jeff.
Take care. You too. Bye.
right,
Thanks
peace.
again. Oh, God. That was a great episode.
That was a great episode. Jeff was a great guest.
Just one of those guests you dream about.
And we went into this episode pretty ignorant. Canton brought him up a bunch of times. We didn't know who he was talking about.
Yeah, I didn't know that he was talking about a fucking legend.
Right? Just a little bit before our time.
I know. That's the tough thing about skateboarding.
Mm-hmm. Like, what is it like? What is it? What is it? Passing in the night?
Two ships.
Ships. Yeah, two shits passing in the night.
Yeah. It's also like, it's also like some old fogey parents who are a couple of yuppies, who really like a certain type of music that was hip at the time, but then they have kids and then they never listen to music again.
You've been talking to
Except-
my parents?
Except the opposite,
Oh, right.
because it's before. Yeah.
Right. Damn. So it's like a time travel situation.
A little bit. It's a time travel situation where you take two shits
Mm-hmm.
and you pass them in the night.
Mm-hmm. In the night, is that code for your butthole?
No, I'm
Oh.
saying you take a shit,
Okay.
I take a shit.
Yep.
We grab it with our hands,
Uh-huh.
naturally,
Yep.
and we throw them across the room,
Mhm.
lights off,
Yeah, nighttime. Nighttime mode.
nighttime, lights off,
Mhm.
and we just listen to them. Just pass by each other. Don't listen to them hit the floor.
Mhm.
You're not going to want to hear that.
My shits have little built-in whistles on the side, like a Nerf football. So when you throw them, they whistle. They go.
Really?
Here, check it out.
This I got to see. Oh, my God. He's got one here with him now. Oh,
Oh God!
dude, that went in my mouth.
I know, but then you swallowed it. You didn't have. You could have spit it out.
Wasn't even thinking.
I mean, your eyes kind of crossed, and then you licked your lips,
Well,
and then dabbed your cheeks. With
it
a little,
seemed like a natural reaction, okay?
yeah, but yet you dabbed your lips with a little napkin after, and said, "That's a tasty treat."
Okay, we were all there, okay? We all saw it happen.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to recount every last detail.
That's true. I just think it's interesting,
Oh, really? What's so interesting about it?
I mean, I threw a shit across the room. It whistled. You caught it in your mouth, and then instead of spit it out, you swallowed it, and then dabbed your lips and crossed your eyes and licked your lips and said, that's a tasty treat. So I think that whole thing is interesting.
Yeah, I think it actually, even the fact that it started whistling in the first place is pretty interesting.
Well, that's why I eat all those plastic whistles all the time.
I was going to ask you why you've been doing that.
Well, it's like, beside plastic being a key ingredient, an important part of the balanced food pyramid.
Yeah.
I like when my shit whistles. That whistle go woo woo.
This motherfucker. Grade A shit whistler.
Listen, don't blame me.
I can't.
No, you can't.
I couldn't possibly.
No, I wouldn't hold up in a court of law.
No.
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 You kidding me?
No.
Not with the best lawyers that TransWorld has.
Listen, we got to respect Geoff Kula for his contribution to skateboarding.
Absolutely.
And just know that sometimes life isn't fair.
Most times, probably.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't always work out the way that you want it to.
Most times it doesn't work out the way you want it to.
Yeah.
From personal experience.
Especially being from Boston.
Oh, God, it's the worst.
You are right there. You got to strike against you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're from Boston? Yeah, strike one.
From Boston? Fuck you.
Fuck you. Back the line.
Yep.
Donkeys.
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 You know, it's just a damn shame that the best thing that we got going for us is that we enjoy a really shitty breakfast chain called Dunkin' Donuts. And that's what we have to be proud about.
That is our shining accomplishment, you know. But America does run on it.
Oh my God. I mean, come on. Tell them I run on it every day.
I get the runs from it every time I have it, at least.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You get coffee from Dunkies? Shit and water, bro.
I wouldn't expect it. It's like, it's really not that strong coffee.
Oh, no, it's just water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that water is making you shit is kind of my point.
It might be the tapeworm.
Well,
and I think it's the tapeworm shit, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, that's unfortunate to hear, and probably you should get that checked out by a medical professional.
Yeah, I'm good.
Or just let the tapeworm
run his course.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Got a few tapeworms, got a bot fly.
Yeah, I mean, it's there for a reason.
Oh, yeah. You know, take what you need, little buddy.
Yeah. Well, this has been one hell of an episode. It's really shed a lot of light, you know, on times past and, you know, skateboarding as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
You know, skateboarding is a whole, right?
Yeah, a whole lot of bullshit.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I'm fucking saying.
Ah, hell yeah.
And I was also going to say, a whole that I want to.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, maybe save that for the Dirty Zone.
Oh, that's true.
Which is available to all our Sweaty and Deranged fans.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you be the Sweaty tier, the Deranged tier, or the Sweaty and Deranged tier. But it's available on the patreon.com/FancyLab podcast.
Absolutely.
And hey, please let us know if you're actually listening to it, because I can't tell.
Oh, my God. We need these fans to reach out with more fan mail.
More fan mail, please.
What do we got to do? Start taking live calls?
We probably don't need to start that.
But I mean, I just want them to reach out is my point.
And they could do that via the Patreon. They could do that at Fancy Lab Podcast on Instagram, or they can email us at fancylabpodcast@gmail.com.
That's right.
That is right. But before we go, Bigzo,
yeah,
I was just wondering.
Yeah,
is there anything that I don't know that maybe you wanted to say?
You know, now that you mention it, there is one thing that's really been itching me, and I got to get it off my chest. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Oh shit! I knew it was coming.
Yeah.